Easy money. Trent Larson laughed, pointing across the bar. $800, says she won't last one round. The laughter spread through the Iron Horse Tavern. Maya Williams stood at the far end of the bar with one hand around a glass of ice water. She did not answer. She did not look embarrassed. She did not look angry. She simply set the glass down and kept her eyes on Rusty Cobb, the owner of the tavern. I asked if you had extra work, she said. Rusty wiped the counter with a towel and lowered his voice. Miss Maya, not tonight. I can clean after closing. Wash dishes. Fix that back door you keep saying sticks. Rusty glanced toward the center of the room. The pool tables had been pushed aside. Old blue mats were taped together on the floor. Trent Larson stood in the middle of them, smiling for the people gathered around him. Darren Vale, his sponsor representative, held a phone up and recorded everything. Rusty leaned closer. You don't want his kind of money. Maya's hand moved to the folded paper in her hoodie pocket. It was the past due electric bill for Hope Renewal Center. The amount still owed was $800. If it was not paid before Monday morning, the center would lose power. Without power, the job classes, support meetings, computer access, and court check-in paperwork would stop. I don't have time to be proud, Maya said. Rusty looked at her, then away. I said I'll think of something. Thinking won't keep the lights on. Across the room, Trent heard enough. He stepped down from the mat and walked toward the bar, still smiling. What lights are we talking about? He asked. That little charity office on Dawson Street? Maya did not answer. Trent looked around the room so everyone could hear him. Hope Renewal Center, right? Place where grown folks go to learn how to get another chance? A few people laughed. Others looked down at their drinks. Maya turned to leave. She had come for work, not for a show. Trent lifted the stack of cash. $800. 1 round. 3 minutes. You stay on your feet. You get paid. No, Maya said. The answer was calm. That made Trent's smile tighten. Come on, sweetheart. That center needs money, doesn't it? I'm offering you a chance. I said no. Rusty stepped between them slightly. Let it go, Trent. Trent ignored him. Or maybe Hope Renewal only teaches people how to ask for help, not earn it. The room quieted. At a table near the wall, Marcus Hill looked up. He was 42, dressed in a clean button-down shirt he had ironed for a job interview the next morning. He had been part of the center's employment program for 6 months. That place helped me, Marcus said. Trent turned toward him. I'm sure it did, Marcus. The way he said the name made several people shift in their seats. Marcus lowered his eyes but did not sit back. He looked ashamed for speaking, and that bothered Maya more than Trent's insult. Mrs. Evelyn Carter sat in the corner booth with a glass of iced tea in front of her. She was 61, a retired teacher, and one of the few people in town who knew enough about Maya's past to understand why she avoided places like this. Maya, Mrs. Evelyn said gently, you don't have to prove anything to people who already decided not to see you. Maya looked at her and nodded once. Then Trent spoke again. $800 for 3 minutes, he said. Unless that center teaches quitting too. Maya stopped. The tavern became still enough for the jukebox to sound too loud. Maya thought about Hope Renewal Center. The old brick building, the flickering lights, the worn-out coffee machine, the job postings on the bulletin board, Denise Harper trying to keep the doors open, Marcus practicing interview answers until he could say them without shaking. She thought about how easy it was for people like Trent to turn someone else's struggle into a joke. She turned back to the bar. Rusty saw the change in her face. Maya, don't. Maya reached for the old watch on her wrist. It had belonged to her father. He had worn it for years while repairing school buses for the county. She placed it on the counter in front of Rusty. Hold this for me, she said. Rusty shook his head. You don't have to do this. I'm not doing it for him. Trent smiled wider. There we go. Maya unzipped her hoodie and took it off. Underneath, she wore a plain black t-shirt. She walked toward the mats without rushing. She did not roll her neck. She did not raise her fists. She did not get the phones pointed at her. Deputy Carl Henson stood near the bar, off-duty but still wearing the posture of a man used to being obeyed. Councilman Robert Pike sat at a corner table, watching with mild interest. Darren Vale kept recording, already pleased with the footage he thought he was getting. Maya noticed all of them. She also noticed the tape peeling at the edge of the mat, the narrow gap between the tables, and the way Trent bounced on his toes to look loose for the crowd. Rusty followed her to the edge of the mat. "Rules," Maya said. Trent laughed. "You scared already?" Maya looked at Rusty, not Trent. "Say them out loud." Rusty hesitated. The room waited. "1 round," he said at last. 3 minutes. Stay on your feet. No outside interference. No dirty holds. $800 if she lasts. "Louder," Maya said. "So every phone can hear." Rusty swallowed. Then, he repeated the rules. Louder this time. A few people raised their phones higher. Darren's smile faded slightly. Maya stepped onto the mat. Her boots made no sound. She stood across from Trent with her hands open at her sides. Trent tilted his head. Last chance to walk away. Maya looked at him for the first time. "You offered the money," she said. "I heard the rules." Rusty looked from Trent to Maya. He had seen many people step onto those mats. Angry, drunk, desperate, or afraid. Maya looked like none of those things. She looked calm. That was what made him uneasy. Trent raised his wrapped hands and turned to the room. "Remember, folks, easy money. This time." The laughter was weaker. Maya did not smile. She only shifted her feet, balanced her weight, and waited for Rusty to start the round. Rusty raised his hand, but he did not drop it right away. For a moment, the Iron Horse Tavern held its breath. The fans kept turning overhead. The jukebox played low behind the murmurs. Trent bounced in front of Maya, loose and smiling, while Maya stood still with her hands open. 3 minutes, Rusty said again, more to himself than to the room. "That's all." Trent winked toward Darren's phone. "That's all I need." Maya did not look at the camera. She looked at Trent's shoulders, then his hips, then his feet. He was fast. He wanted everyone to know it. He wanted a clean clip for the internet, something with a hard start and an easy finish. Rusty dropped his hand. Trent moved first. He came forward with a quick step and a reaching hand, not fully committed, just enough to make her flinch. Maya did not flinch. She moved half a step to her right. Trent's hand passed in front of her shoulder and touched nothing. A few people near the wall chuckled, but the sound faded when Trent turned and came again. This time he stepped closer, trying to crowd her. Maya gave ground, but only enough to stay inside the taped square. She kept her chin level, her eyes calm, and her breathing steady. "Don't run now," Trent said. "I'm standing," Maya replied. The answer was quiet, but several people heard it. Trent's smile tightened. He circled left. Maya turned with him. He reached again, faster this time, aiming to catch her upper arm and steer her toward the edge of the mat. Before his fingers settled, Maya rotated her shoulder and let his grip slide off. It was small, almost nothing, but it made Trent look clumsy. Darren lowered his phone for a second, checked the screen, and lifted it again. Maya noticed. She noticed everything. Deputy Henson, leaning closer to the bar, Councilman Pike whispering to the man beside him, Mrs. Evelyn sitting straight in the corner booth, both hands folded around her glass of tea, Marcus Hill standing near the wall, no longer pretending he was not invested. Trent stepped in again. This time he used his body, trying to force Maya backward. She placed one open palm against his forearm and the other near his shoulder, not pushing hard, just redirecting. His weight carried past her, and he had to take an extra step to keep from stumbling. A low sound moved through the crowd. Trent heard it. His face changed. "You been practicing somewhere?" he asked. Maya did not answer. That bothered him more than an insult would have. He laughed and turned toward the room. "She's got a little balance. I'll give her that." But the laugh did not land the way he wanted. People were watching closer now. Maya understood the danger of that shift. When a man like Trent began to lose the room, he did not become humble. He became careless. She had seen it before in training rooms, in tense hallways, in places where pride made people mistake control for weakness. She kept her hands open. Trent moved faster, his frustration growing. He lunged to grab her, but his fingers caught only empty air. Before he could reset, he shifted low, driving all his weight forward to seize her waist and ram her out of bounds. Maya didn't fight his strength. At the last split second, She stepped out at an angle, placed a single palm on his shoulder, and let his own aggressive momentum carry him past her. Trent had to plant his foot hard, skid across the tape, and barely saved himself from crashing into the tables. "You're wasting everybody's time," Trent snarled, his face flushing as the room grew quiet. Maya glanced at the clock over the bar. "Then you should hurry." Rusty's eyes narrowed. He had run enough of these Friday night challenges to know the usual rhythm. First came the jokes, then the shove. Then somebody lost balance, got embarrassed, and Trent gave the crowd a finish they could talk about over beer. This did not feel like that. Trent backed away and rolled his neck. "You're wasting everybody's time." Maya glanced at the clock over the bar. "Then you should hurry." The room reacted before it could stop itself. A few people laughed. Not at Maya this time. Trent's face flushed. He stepped closer, lowering his voice so only Maya and the first row could hear. "You think you're clever? No. You think this makes you better than me? No. Then what do you think?" Maya looked past him for a second, toward Rusty's bar where her father's watch sat beside the register. Then, she looked back at Trent. "I think you offered $800. The simple answer cut deeper than anger. Trent's hands came up. He reached for her right arm, then changed direction and tried to catch her left shoulder. Maya saw the change before he finished it. She guided his wrist down and stepped outside his lead foot. For one brief moment, Trent's balance was split between two directions. Maya could have taken him down. She did not. She released him and stepped back. That restraint was not mercy for Trent. It was discipline for herself. She could feel the old training in her body, quiet and exact. Control the space. Control the hands. Control yourself first. She knew how quickly a room could turn if it wanted the wrong story. If you feel for Maya, a young woman being judged by the whole room while still trying to stay calm, protect her dignity, and save Hope Renewal Center, please give this video a like and comment where you are watching from, because someone near you might be listening to Maya's story right now too. Trent understood only one thing. She had let him go. He smiled again, but it was forced. "Scared to finish?" Maya said. Still standing, Darren kept recording, frantically shifting angles to make Trent look like the aggressor. Funny how that camera keeps moving when he misses. Mrs. Evelyn called out from her booth. Deputy Henson instantly stepped forward, his hand resting near his belt. "Keep the commentary down, Evelyn." "Just stating facts, Deputy," she replied smoothly. "Same as you." The tension in the room thickened. Trent used the distraction to charge again. Trent used the distraction. He came in quickly, trying to bump Maya off balance with his shoulder. Maya turned, absorbed the pressure, and let him slide past. He stopped himself before crossing the tape, but barely. Rusty called out, "Watch the line." Trent snapped. "I know where the line is," Maya thought. "No, you don't." But she did not say it. There was still more than half the round left, and the room was changing. At first, they had wanted to see whether Maya could survive Trent. Now, some of them were beginning to wonder what Trent would do if she did. Trent heard the change. He felt it in the quieter crowd, in Darren's uneasy filming, in Rusty's watchful silence. His show was slipping out of his hands. He turned back to Maya, breathing harder now. "Fine," he said. "No more playing." Maya settled her weight evenly over both feet. For the first time since the round began, Trent stopped smiling. Trent moved in with a different kind of pressure. He no longer reached as if he were teasing her. He stepped into Maya's space with his shoulders squared and his mouth shut. The crowd felt the change right away. The jokes faded. The men at the bar stopped leaning back in their stools. Someone lowered a basket of wings without taking another bite. Maya did not retreat. She gave him one step, then held the center of the mat. That bothered Trent. The center belonged to him on Friday nights. The lights, the phones, the noise, the money, all of it usually bent toward him. People came to the Iron Horse to see him make other people look small. Now, Maya stood where his confidence was supposed to be. He reached for her wrist. Maya turned her hand so his fingers closed around nothing solid. Then she shifted her elbow close to her ribs and stepped past his shoulder. Trent had to turn quickly to face her again. "Stop slipping away," he said. "I'm still here. You know what I mean." Yes, Maya said. I do. The calm answer pulled at him. He wanted anger. Anger could be sold. Fear could be sold. A quiet woman refusing to become either was harder to frame. Darren adjusted his phone again. Maya saw the screen catch only her hands, not Trent stepping forward first. She made a note of it without looking away too long. She had seen people build false stories from smaller pieces than that. Trent circled right. Maya matched him. He feinted high with one hand and reached low with the other, trying to catch her hip and turn her. She stepped inside the reach before it had power, placed 2 fingers lightly against his forearm, and guided it across his own center line. It was not dramatic. It did not look like a movie. It only made Trent pause half a second because his body was suddenly in the wrong position. A few older men near the bar exchanged looks. Rusty saw it too. His hand still hovered near his towel, but he had stopped wiping the counter. His eyes stayed on Maya's feet. Deputy Henson leaned closer to Councilman Pike and said something under his breath. Pike did not laugh. He watched Maya with a tighter expression now, as if he had found a problem in a meeting agenda that would not go away. Trent tried again. This time he came with both hands, trying to steer Maya toward the peeling tape. She let him touch her shoulder, then turned her body with the pressure. His push slid off her instead of moving her. She stayed inside the line. He nearly stepped out. Watch it, Rusty said. Trent pointed at him. I said I know the line. You're the one crowding it, Rusty replied. That brought a small murmur from the room. Rusty had corrected Trent before, but not like that. Not in front of cameras. Not when Trent was supposed to be the safe bet. Trent heard the murmur and turned back to Maya with a hard look. You think they're on your side now? Maya glanced around the tavern. Most faces still held caution. Some held guilt. A few held hope they were not ready to show. No, she said. I think they're watching. Trent stepped closer. Then give them something to watch. Maya did not move. He reached for her again, quicker and rougher, aiming to pull her off balance. Maya caught his wrist with one hand and placed the other against his upper arm. She did not twist. She did not force. She simply aligned his arm in a way that made his own shoulder stop him. Trent bent slightly before he realized why. For 1 second, the room saw him controlled. Maya released him before it became humiliation. That should have ended his anger. Instead, it fed it. He pulled back, rubbed his wrist, and laughed too loudly. That all you got? Little tricks? Maya said nothing. Trent faced the crowd. She's been trained somewhere. I'll say that. But training don't make you tough. Mrs. Evelyn spoke from her corner booth. Neither does picking people who need money. The room went quiet again. Trent looked at her. Ma'am, I'm running a challenge. Nobody makes them step up. No, Mrs. Evelyn said. You just make sure they're desperate before you ask. A few people looked away. That truth landed too cleanly. Darren lowered his phone and muttered, This is getting off message. Maya heard that clearly. Off message. Not wrong. Not unfair. Just off message. That told her more than Darren meant to reveal. Trent's fights had a script. Poor man steps up. Trent jokes. Poor man loses. Trent posts the cleanest angle. The town laughs. The gym gets attention. Nobody asks why the man needed the money. Tonight, the script was failing. Trent turned back toward Maya and lowered his voice. You brought your little church ladies in charity cases to cheer you on? Maya's eyes changed. Just slightly. He noticed. So did Rusty. Trent smiled. There she is. Maya understood then. He did not care whether she could defend herself. He wanted her to react in a way that confirmed what he wanted the room to believe. Angry, unstable, dangerous. He wanted the story before the round was over. She breathed in through her nose and let it out slowly. In her mind, another room appeared for a moment. Gray mats, fluorescent lights, heavy boots. Men twice her size waiting to see if she could teach them anything. Back then, she had told them the same thing every week. Your first job is not to win the fight. Your first job is to control yourself long enough to see the truth. She returned to the tavern. Trent came again. This time, he tried to hook behind her shoulder and drive her backward. Maya stepped under the pressure, turned her hips, and placed her foot outside his. She guided his arm down and across. Trent's balance broke. His knee dipped toward the mat. He caught himself, but everyone saw it. The sound that followed was not laughter. It was recognition. Darren stopped recording for a second. "Keep it on," Maya said without looking at him. Darren froze. She turned her eyes to him. "The cameras are on, right?" Nobody spoke. Darren lifted the phone again. Slower this time. Trent's breathing grew louder. "You think you're embarrassing me?" "No," Maya said. "You're doing that yourself." The words were not loud, but they reached the first row, then the second, then the bar. By the time they settled, Trent's face had changed completely. He stepped in hard, trying to shove her out before anyone could enjoy the moment. Maya pivoted. His shoulder passed by her. She placed one palm between his shoulder blades, not pushing, only guiding, and he stumbled 2 steps before catching himself near the tape. Rusty called. "Still in." Councilman Pike stood halfway from his chair. "Maybe this has gone long enough." Maya looked at the clock. "Not 3 minutes." Pike's mouth tightened. Deputy Henson said, "Best be careful, Miss Williams." Maya turned her head slightly. "About following the rules?" The deputy did not answer. The room heard that too. Trent straightened. His pride had lost its shine. What remained was frustration and something close to panic. He had started the round wanting a quick victory. Now every passing second made him look less like a champion and more like a man being exposed. Maya knew this was the most dangerous moment, not because he was stronger, but because he was losing the story. Trent rolled his shoulders and stepped toward her again. This time, he was not smiling for anyone. Trent changed the pace. He stopped circling. He stopped talking to the room. He came forward with short, hard steps, not trying to impress anyone now. His hands reached for Maya's arms, then her shoulders, then her path of escape. He wanted to force her backward until the tape was under her heels. Maya gave him 1 foot of space, then took it back. The tavern watched the small battle nobody had expected to matter. Trent wanted the edge. Maya wanted the center. Each time he crowded her, she turned just enough to make him reset. Each time he tried to grab, she broke contact before his fingers settled. It looked simple, but simple was hard to argue with on camera. "Push her out," someone near the wall called. Trent heard it and tried. He lowered his shoulder and stepped in fast. Maya placed both hands lightly against his forearm, turned her hips, and let his pressure slide past her. He stopped near the edge again, breathing through his nose, his face tight. Rusty looked at the clock. 1 minute 20. The number moved through the room. 1 minute 20. Trent had promised easy money. He had not even made her stumble. Darren Vale walked closer to the mat with his phone still raised. "Trent, take your time." Maya glanced at him. "Outside interference?" Darren stopped. Rusty cleared his throat. "Stay back, Darren." Darren's jaw tightened. "I'm just giving him space." "You're coaching," Mrs. Evelyn said. Darren looked at her. "Ma'am, with respect, you don't know what coaching is." Mrs. Evelyn smiled without warmth. "I taught 8th grade for 34 years. I know coaching, lying, and showing off." Most days they sat in the same row. A few people chuckled under their breath. Darren did not. Trent used the noise to move again. He reached across Maya's body, trying to catch her opposite shoulder and turn her hard toward the line. Maya stepped inside the reach instead of away from it. Her forearm made contact with his, her palm touched his elbow, and for a second his arm folded across his own chest. He froze because moving forward would trap him worse. Maya released him. Trent pulled back quickly, as if he had chosen to. But the room had seen enough to know he had not. Deputy Henson set his drink down. "Maya," he said. She did not take her eyes off Trent. "Deputy, keep it clean." "I have. Keep it that way." The words sounded like advice. They were not. Maya knew that tone. She had heard it in offices, at traffic stops, in public meetings where people said concern when they meant control. Henson was reminding her that he had authority even out of uniform. He was reminding the room, too. Maya let the silence sit for 1 beat. Then she said, "You heard the rules." Henson did not answer. Trent smiled again, but only with his mouth. "Careful, Maya. Wouldn't want this to become a misunderstanding." There it was. The real fight. Not the mats, not the round, not the money. The misunderstanding. The old word people used when the truth might cost the wrong person something. Maya felt heat rise in her chest. She pushed it down. Do not give them the picture they want. She stepped back into stance. Trent moved with more force now. He tried to catch both her wrists. Maya turned one hand free, but he caught the other for half a second. The crowd leaned forward. Trent tried to pull her toward him, maybe to spin her, maybe to make her look trapped. Maya lowered her weight and pointed her elbow toward the floor. His grip weakened immediately. She took her hand back. "That's twice you grabbed first," Marcus said from the wall. A man beside him muttered, "Sit down, Marcus." Marcus did not sit. His voice shook, but he stayed with it. "She ain't breaking rules." Councilman Pike turned toward him. "Mr. Hill, I'd be careful about putting yourself in the middle of something like this." Marcus looked at him. "I'm already in the middle. People like me always are." The room went quiet again. Pike's expression hardened. Hope Renewal receives community consideration because this town believes in second chances. But public disorder will not help its case. Maya looked at him then. There were many ways to threaten a person. Some men raised fists. Some raised paperwork. "You talking about the center?" she asked. "I'm saying actions have consequences." Maya nodded once. "They do." Rusty shifted near the bar. He looked uncomfortable now, not because of the fight, but because the night had become something he could not pretend was entertainment. Darren moved behind Trent and whispered, "End it, or we stop this." Maya heard him. So did Rusty. So did at least 3 phones close enough to catch the sound. "Outside interference," Maya said. Darren snapped. "I'm protecting my athlete." Trent turned on him. "I don't need protecting." But he said it too quickly. The people nearest the mat heard the fear behind it. Not fear of Maya hurting him. Fear of what losing to her would do to him. Rusty raised both hands. "Everybody back up." Darren did not move. Deputy Henson stepped closer. "Maybe we should call this." Maya turned toward Rusty. "Has the round ended?" Rusty looked at the clock. "No." "Did I leave the mat?" "No." "Did I break the rules?" Rusty hesitated. His eyes moved from Maya to Trent, from Trent to Darren, from Darren to Henson, then toward Pike. The whole tavern waited for him to choose which truth he could afford. Trent laughed. "Listen to her. She thinks this is court," Maya said. "No. In court, people pretend they didn't hear." That landed harder than she expected. The room did not laugh. Even Rusty looked down for a moment. Mrs. Evelyn leaned forward. "Answer her, Russell." No one called him Russell in the Iron Horse, unless they had known him before his beard turned gray. He swallowed. "No," he said. "She didn't break the rules." Maya nodded. "Then let the clock run." Pike sat back slowly. Henson's face stayed flat. Darren lifted his phone again, but the confidence had gone out of his hand. Trent stared at Maya. The room he had controlled every Friday was no longer moving with him. Every second that passed made the story harder to edit. He stepped close enough that only she could hear him clearly. "You think this town's going to pick you over me?" Maya looked at him. "I think you're running out of time." Rusty checked the clock again. 40 seconds. Trent's eyes flicked toward the bar, toward Darren's phone, toward the people who had stopped laughing. Then he lunged, not cleanly, not beautifully, just urgently. Maya waited until he committed. She shifted left, guided his reaching arm down, and stepped around him. Trent turned fast, almost losing his footing, and caught himself with a sharp breath. The crowd saw it. More important, the phones saw it. Trent stood there for half a second, face tight, chest rising faster now. He had wanted a simple round, a simple woman, a simple clip. Instead, every person in the tavern had been pulled into the truth 1 inch at a time. Maya stayed in the center. She did not look proud. She did not look afraid. She looked ready to finish what he had started. Rusty looked at the clock. 30 seconds. The words cut through the tavern. Trent heard them and changed again. He no longer looked like a man performing for a room. He looked like a man trying to save himself from the room. His shoulders rose with each breath. His hands opened and closed. He glanced once at Darren, once at Deputy Henson, once at Councilman Pike, and then back at Maya. Maya understood the glance. Trent was not asking them for help with words. He was asking them to hold the story together if he failed. She kept her feet steady. "Come on, Trent," Darren called, then caught himself when several heads turned toward him. Rusty snapped. "Back up." Darren raised one hand. "I didn't say anything." Mrs. Evelyn said, "You said enough." Trent moved before anyone else could speak. He came straight in, reaching with both hands for Maya's shoulders. It was not clean. It was not careful. He wanted to grab, drive, and force her backward over the tape before the clock ran out. Maya stepped aside, but this time Trent adjusted with her. He had learned enough to expect the first angle. For half a second, his hand caught her upper arm. The crowd leaned in. Maya did not pull away. Pulling would give him what he wanted. Instead, she moved toward the pressure. Her elbow dropped. Her shoulder softened. Trent's grip lost its strength because she refused to fight the way he expected. She turned her wrist under his forearm and stepped behind his lead foot. Trent felt the shift too late. His balance tilted forward. He tried to correct by pushing harder, but that only gave Maya more direction to work with. She guided his arm down, placed her other hand near his shoulder, and turned her body just enough to make his feet cross awkwardly. He stumbled. Not far, not dramatically, but enough. The tavern saw it. Trent caught himself with one hand on his thigh and stood fast, face tight. "Still standing," he said quickly, as if someone had challenged him. Maya did not answer. Rusty checked the clock. 20 seconds. Councilman Pike stood fully now. "Russell, this is becoming inappropriate." Rusty did not look away from the mat. It became inappropriate before she stepped up. Pike's mouth closed. That sentence changed something in the room. Rusty had not shouted it. He had not made a speech, but he had said it clearly enough for every phone to catch. Deputy Henson took a step toward him. "Careful, Rusty." Rusty looked at the deputy. "I'm watching my own floor." The older men at the bar went very still. In a small town, a sentence like that had weight. It meant Rusty knew exactly who he was talking to and had decided to keep talking anyway. Trent pointed at Maya. "You hear that? They're all trying to make this about something else." Maya said, "You made it about something else when you brought up the center. I offered you money. You offered a show." The room was quiet enough for the old clock above the bar to be heard. Trent's expression hardened. He stepped in again, faster than before, trying to hook an arm around Maya and turn her out of the square. Maya backed one step, then stopped. She could feel the tape near her heel. She could hear a few people gasp because they thought he had finally put her where he wanted. Trent smiled through his breathing. "There it is." Maya looked down for the smallest moment, confirming the line. Then she looked back at him. He pushed. She did not resist the push. She let him believe he had her. Then she stepped off the line at an angle, turned her hips, and guided his forearm across his own body. Trent's forward drive carried him past the place where she had been. He planted his foot hard to stop from crossing out. Maya stayed inside the square. Several people spoke at once. "She's still in." He almost went out. "Lord," Darren shouted. "Bad angle." From here it looked different. Maya turned her head. Then, "Move where the truth is." Darren did not respond. Rusty raised his voice. 10 seconds. That was when Trent lost patience completely. He came in low, not with skill now, but with urgency. His arms reached for Maya's waist. He wanted to lift, shove, anything that would make the final seconds belong to him. Maya stepped back just enough to draw him forward. When his hands came in, she placed one hand on his wrist and one on his shoulder. She turned with him, not against him, and dropped her weight. Trent's motion stopped. He tried to pull free. Maya adjusted her grip and guided him down to one knee. She did not force him hard. She did not twist him into pain. She only placed him where his own momentum had already taken him and held him there with clean, practiced control. The tavern stopped breathing again. Trent's free hand hovered above the mat. He looked furious, but he could not move without making himself look worse. Maya's hold was simple enough for everyone to understand. She was not attacking him. She was not punishing him. She was preventing him from continuing. Rusty stared at the clock. 5, he said. Trent tried to rise. Maya shifted her weight 1 inch, and he stopped. 4. Darren's phone shook slightly. 3. Deputy Henson said nothing. 2. Mrs. Evelyn's eyes stayed on Maya. 1. The clock reached the end of the round. Rusty called out, "Time." For a moment, nobody moved. Maya released Trent immediately and stepped back with both hands open. She did not look at the crowd. She did not raise her arms. She did not smile. Trent stood too quickly, brushing at his shirt as if dirt had caused the problem. That wasn't a win. Maya looked at Rusty. What were the rules? Rusty's face was pale under the tavern lights. 1 round, 3 minutes. Stay on your feet. Did I leave the mat? No. Did I go down? No. Then pay the center. Trent laughed once, sharp and angry. Hold on. She stalled the whole time. She didn't fight. Mrs. Evelyn stood slowly. You didn't ask her to fight. You asked her to last. Marcus added, and she lasted. A few voices agreed. Not loud at first. Then more. She lasted. That was the bet. He said 3 minutes. Darren lowered his phone. This is bad footage. Maya turned to him. Only if you were planning to lie. The words landed clean. Trent stepped toward her again. You think you can talk to people like that? Maya did not move back. I'm talking to everyone. Deputy Henson finally spoke. Enough. Maya looked at him. Yes, it is. Rusty went behind the bar. Every eye followed him. He opened the register, then reached under it for the envelope where Trent's challenge money had been placed before the round. He counted the bills slowly, not because he needed to, but because the room needed to see it happen. 100, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. He walked back and held the money out. Trent said, Rusty. Rusty did not look at him. She met the rules. Darren muttered, You're making a mistake. Rusty turned then. No. I made the mistake when I let this become Friday entertainment. The tavern went silent. Maya took the $800. She folded the bills once and held them in her hand. For the first time all night, the money did not look like bait. It looked like heat, lights, coffee, computers, chairs, paperwork, and another week for people who needed one. Rusty's voice dropped. Maya, I'm sorry. Maya looked at him. He looked older than he had 10 minutes ago. Don't be sorry in private, she said. Be honest in public. Rusty lowered his eyes. Maya walked to the bar and picked up her father's watch. She fastened it around her wrist with careful fingers. Then, she put her hoodie back on. No one blocked her path. As she walked toward the door, Marcus stepped aside and nodded. Mrs. Evelyn gave her a small, proud smile. A few people looked like they wanted to say something but could not find words that would not expose their earlier silence. Behind Maya, Trent stood on the mat alone, surrounded by phones that had recorded more truth than he intended to give them. Maya pushed open the tavern door and stepped into the warm Georgia night with $800 in her pocket and no feeling of victory in her chest. Victory was too loud a word for what had happened. She had not beaten a man. She had kept a promise. The parking lot outside the Iron Horse Tavern was quiet in a way the room inside had not been. Maya stood beside her old silver Toyota Camry and let the night air settle around her. The heat had not broken. It sat heavy over the gravel, over the hoods of pickup trucks, over the faded tavern sign buzzing near the road. Somewhere beyond the county line, crickets started their steady sound. Behind her, through the closed door, the tavern murmured, like a place trying to decide what it had just become. She opened her hand and looked at the $800. The bills were folded once, clean and real. They should have felt like relief. Instead, they felt like a receipt for something she had never wanted to sell. She put the money into the inside pocket of her hoodie and took out the electric bill. The paper was creased and warm from her body. She read the amount again, though she knew it by heart. $800. Due before Monday morning. Service interruption pending. A car door shut behind her. Maya. She turned. Marcus Hill stood a few yards away, one hand resting on the roof of his pickup. He looked like he wanted to say something important, but did not trust himself to say it right. The tavern light reached only half his face. You didn't have to come out, Maya said. I know. He looked back toward the door. I just wanted to say I'm sorry. For what? For standing there so long. Maya shook her head. You stood up when it mattered. Marcus gave a small, tired laugh. Didn't feel like much. It was. He nodded, but his eyes stayed low. When Pike said my name like that, I felt 16 again. Like one mistake was going to follow me into every room for the rest of my life. Maya understood that more than she wanted to. Not the exact mistake, not the exact wound, but the shape of it. A person could spend years rebuilding themselves, and one voice from the right table could try to pull the whole structure down. You have an interview tomorrow, she said. 8:30. At Jenkins Auto? Yes, ma'am. Then go home. Iron your shirt again if you need something to do. Get there 10 minutes early. Don't let tonight follow you into that room unless it walks in as proof you can stay steady. Marcus looked at her then. Something in his face eased. You sound like Mrs. Evelyn. Good. She charges less than therapy. That made him smile for the first time. The tavern door opened again. Mrs. Evelyn Carter stepped out carefully, her purse tucked under one arm. She had the slow, deliberate walk of a woman who did not rush for anyone unless a child was in danger or a casserole was burning. She came down the 2 wooden steps and looked from Marcus to Maya. Mr. Hill, she said, you have somewhere to be in the morning. Yes, Mom. Maya just reminded me. Then let an old teacher remind you twice. Go home. Marcus nodded. Yes, ma'am. He got into his truck, started the engine, and drove out slowly, his tires crunching over the gravel. Maya watched until his taillights turned onto the county road. Mrs. Evelyn came to stand beside her. For a few seconds, neither woman spoke. Then Mrs. Evelyn said, Your father would have hated that place. Maya looked down at the watch on her wrist. He hated most places with sticky floors. He hated people being made small more than sticky floors. Maya did not answer. Mrs. Evelyn reached into her purse and pulled out a folded paper napkin. You all right? I'm fine. No, baby. You're standing. That is not always the same thing. Maya took the napkin even though she did not need it. It gave her hands something to hold. I did what I had to do, she said. I know. I didn't hurt him. I saw. I didn't lose control. Mrs. Evelyn's voice softened. I saw that too. Maya looked toward the tavern door. Through the small window, she could see shapes moving inside. People still talking. People still deciding which parts of the night they would keep and which parts they would pretend not to remember. That's the part that scares me, Maya said. Not Trent. Not the mat. The part after. The telling. Mrs. Evelyn nodded slowly. Because the first fight is what happens. The second fight is what folks say happened. Maya folded the napkin once, then again. They'll try. They already are. Maya looked at her. Mrs. Evelyn raised her phone. The screen glowed in the dark. A video was paused there. Maya saw herself on the mat, hands open. Trent, in front of her. Rusty in the frame. Who posted that? Maya asked. Lena from the feed store. Full clip. She wrote. I was there. Don't let them cut this up. Maya stared at the screen. Already? Baby. People over 45 learned Facebook before they learned to forgive. This town will know before breakfast. That should have made Maya laugh. It almost did. Instead, she felt the first wave of exhaustion settle into her shoulders. Inside the tavern, a muffled argument rose and faded. Mrs. Evelyn put the phone away. You need to pay that bill. I will. First thing in the morning. No. Tonight if you can. Maya pulled out her own phone. The screen was cracked in the corner, but it worked. She opened the utility company's payment page. Her fingers moved carefully. Account number. Amount. Card information from the prepaid debit account Denise used for emergencies. Maya added the $800 to the account through the tavern ATM app before paying the bill. The process took longer than it should have. The signal dropped once. The page froze once. Mrs. Evelyn waited without speaking. Finally, the confirmation appeared. Payment received. Maya stared at those 2 words. For the first time that night, her breath changed. Mrs. Evelyn saw it. Lights stay on? Maya nodded. Lights stay on. Good. It was such a small word for such a heavy thing. The tavern door opened again. Rusty stepped out. He had removed his apron. Without it, he looked less like the owner of Iron Horse and more like an old man who had stayed too long in a room full of noise. He stopped when he saw Mrs. Evelyn. Evening, Evelyn. Russell. The way she said his full name made him look down at his boots. Maya waited. Rusty cleared his throat. Darren's mad. Trent's mad. Pike left through the kitchen door like a possum. Henson's still inside, telling folks to calm down. Mrs. Evelyn said, "Folks usually say calm down after they helped stir the pot." Rusty accepted that without defending himself. He looked at Maya. "I'm closing the mat." Maya did not respond right away. Rusty added, "Not just tonight. For good." Mrs. Evelyn studied him. "Because you're sorry. Or because it got recorded." Rusty's jaw worked. He deserved the question, and knew it. "At first," he said, "because it got recorded." He looked at Maya then. "Now? Because I watched a room full of people wait for one woman to lose so they could feel better about doing nothing." Maya held his gaze. "That includes me," Rusty said. The words stood there in the parking lot. Maya did not offer comfort. She did not tell him it was all right. It was not all right. And that he was old enough to know that a real apology did not get to choose its own ending. "What are you going to say tomorrow?" she asked. Rusty took a breath. "The truth." "Where?" He looked confused for half a second. Then he understood. "Public," he said. "On the tavern page. On my own page. And if Pike calls, I'll tell him the same." Mrs. Evelyn nodded once. That would be a beginning. Rusty looked at the old tavern sign, then back at Maya. "Hope Renewal need anything besides that bill?" Maya almost said no. Pride rose fast, familiar and sharp, but she thought of Denise's tired hands, the old coffee maker, the computers that took 10 minutes to start, the people who needed chairs more than Maya needed pride. "Come by Sunday," she said. "Bring coffee. Not the cheap kind you serve in there." Rusty gave a short, embarrassed laugh. "Yes, ma'am. And cleaning supplies," Mrs. Evelyn added. "If you're feeling convicted," Rusty nodded. "Cleaning supplies, too." Maya opened her car door. The inside smelled like old upholstery, peppermint gum, and the lemon wipes she used after carrying boxes for the center. She sat behind the wheel but did not start the engine yet. Mrs. Evelyn leaned down near the window. "Go home, baby." Maya looked at the payment confirmation still glowing on her phone. "I don't feel like I won," she said. Mrs. Evelyn smiled sadly. "Most real justice doesn't feel like winning at first. It feels like being tired and still having work to do." Maya closed her hand around the phone. Across the lot, the Iron Horse sign buzzed and flickered. Behind her, Rusty went back inside to face the room he had allowed to exist. Ahead of her, the road to Hope Renewal waited under the dark Georgia sky. Maya started the car. The engine turned over on the second try. She pulled out of the gravel lot and drove toward Dawson Street, where an old brick building still had lights because tonight, for once, the story had not ended where the powerful wanted it to. Dawson Street was nearly empty when Maya reached Hope Renewal Center. The building sat between a closed barber shop and a tax office with a faded sign in the window. Its brick walls had been patched in 3 different shades over the years. The front steps were worn in the middle. A small wooden sign beside the door read, "Hope Renewal Center" in blue paint that Denise Harper had touched up every spring until the budget stopped stretching that far. Maya parked along the curb and sat for a moment with the engine running. The lights were still on. 2 long windows glowed softly from inside the front room. Nothing about that glow looked dramatic to anyone passing by. It was just electricity, just old ceiling fixtures, just a building, refusing, for one more night, to go dark. To Maya, it looked like a promise held together by tape, borrowed time, and $800. She turned off the car and went inside. The center smelled like old paper, floor cleaner, and coffee that had been sitting too long. Someone had left a stack of job applications on the front desk. The bulletin board near the hallway was crowded with flyers: forklift certification, anger management group, interview workshop, veterans benefits clinic, second chance hiring fair in Macon. A few chairs were still pulled into a circle from the evening meeting. Denise Harper came out of the small office with her reading glasses on top of her head and a cardigan wrapped around her shoulders. She looked surprised, then worried. "Maya, it's almost midnight." "I paid it." Denise blinked. "Paid what?" "The electric bill." For a second, Denise did not move. Then she stepped closer. All of it? All of it. Denise put one hand on the desk. She was 54, but in that moment she looked both older and younger. Older from the weight she had been carrying. Younger from the relief she did not know how to hold. How? She asked. Maya took the folded confirmation from her phone screen and turned it toward her. It's done. Denise read the words twice. Payment received. Then she covered her mouth with her hand. Maya, don't. Maya said softly. Denise lowered her hand. Don't what? Don't ask me if I'm okay yet. Denise studied her face. She had been running the center long enough to know when a person needed food, when a person needed silence, and when a person needed both, but would accept neither. All right, Denise said. Then sit down. I'm not staying long. You cannot stay long sitting. Maya almost smiled. Denise went to the little kitchenette and came back with a mug of water, not coffee. That was one of her habits. She never gave strong coffee to someone whose hands were too still. Maya sat at the table nearest the bulletin board. Her body was beginning to feel the night now. Not pain exactly, but the deep heaviness that came after staying controlled too long. Her shoulders ached, her jaw was tight, her hands wanted something to do, so she wrapped them around the mug. Denise sat across from her. Was it Iron Horse? She asked. Maya looked up. Denise sighed. Rusty called me. When? 10 minutes ago. He said the bill was paid, and that he was closing those Friday night challenges. He sounded like a man who had just met himself in a mirror and didn't like the introduction. Maya looked down into the mug. He should have closed it before tonight. Yes, Denise said. He should have. That answer mattered. Denise did not soften wrong just because someone had finally noticed it. Maya took a sip of water. Denise's phone buzzed on the table. She glanced at it, then turned it face down. What is it? Maya asked. Another video. How many? Enough. Maya leaned back in the chair. Already spreading? Faster than church gossip and slower than judgment. So just about normal for Belridge. This time Maya did smile, but it faded quickly. Denise folded her hands. The full clip is out there. Not just Trent's version. Lena posted one. Mrs. Carter shared it. Marcus commented. Half the town is arguing under it, which means the other half is reading quietly and pretending they are above arguing. Maya rubbed one thumb along the side of the mug. What are they saying? Some are saying you stayed within the rules. Some are saying Trent had it coming. Some are asking why the tavern was taking bets on desperate people in the first place. And the others? Denise did not answer right away. That was answer enough. They're saying I made it about race, Maya said. Denise looked tired. Yes. Maya nodded slowly. Trent said what he said. He did. Pike said what he said. He did. Henson stood there. He did. And somehow, I made it about race. Denise's voice became quiet. Some folks only notice a fire when smoke reaches their porch. Then they blame the smoke. Maya looked toward the front windows. Across the street, the traffic light changed for no cars. She had expected this. She had known before stepping on the mat that winning would not end anything cleanly. Still, knowing a storm is coming does not stop the rain from being wet. Denise reached across the table but did not touch her. She only placed her hand near Maya's, close enough to offer, not close enough to demand. You kept control, Denise said. That's what scares them. Maybe. No. It is. If I had screamed, they'd know what to call me. If I had lost, they'd know how to laugh. But I stayed calm, and now they have to explain why that bothered them. Denise sat with that. From the hallway came the hum of the old vending machine. It accepted dollars only when it felt generous and kept nickels like personal property. Maya looked around the room. This place shouldn't depend on a bar bet. No, Denise said. It shouldn't. People shouldn't have to be humiliated to keep lights on. No, Marcus shouldn't have to prove he's more than his record every time he opens his mouth. No, the simple answers steadied Maya more than any speech could have. Denise had a gift for not turning pain into a sermon. The phone buzzed again. Denise picked it up, read, and frowned. What now? Maya asked. Councilman Pike posted. Maya closed her eyes briefly. Let me guess. He's concerned. Denise read from the screen. He says he is deeply concerned by reports of disorder involving Hope Renewal Center staff at a local business. He says town resources must support stability, not public confrontation. Maya laughed once, without humor. Public confrontation. He didn't name you. He didn't have to. Denise set the phone down. He's trying to get in front of it. He's trying to put us behind it. Yes. Maya stood. Denise looked up. Where are you going? To write the truth before he writes policy around a lie. Maya, I'm not going back to Iron Horse. I know. Sit down. Maya stayed standing. Denise pointed to the chair with the tired authority of a woman who had survived bad marriages, budget hearings, and 3 decades of people mistaking kindness for weakness. Sit down, Miss Williams. Maya sat. Denise pulled a yellow legal pad from the shelf behind her. We do this right. Not angry. Not defensive. Clear. Maya stared at the pad. Denise uncapped a pen. First, we say the bill is paid and the center will open as scheduled. Second, we say Hope Renewal does not endorse public challenges, betting, or humiliation as entertainment. Third, we say our staff member followed stated rules, avoided harm, and left once the agreed amount was paid. Fourth, we invite anyone concerned about stability to attend Sunday's open house and see what stability actually looks like. Maya watched her write. That's good, Maya said. I've written grant applications for people who smile while cutting funding. I know how to say a thing. The front door opened before Maya could answer. Both women turned. Marcus stood in the doorway, holding a paper bag from the gas station. He looked embarrassed. I saw the lights on. Denise frowned. Marcus Hill, why are you not home? He lifted the bag. I brought food. Figured nobody ate. Maya looked at him for a long moment. He added quickly, turkey sandwiches, chips, and those oatmeal cookies Miss Evelyn likes, but she ain't here, so I guess they're for whoever needs them. Denise's face softened despite herself. You have an interview in the morning. Yes, ma'am. That's why I brought decaf. Maya finally laughed. A real one this time. Small but real. Marcus set the bag on the table. I know everybody's talking. Let them. Some of us know what happened. Maya looked at the paid bill on her phone, the legal pad on the table, and the bag of gas station food between them. For the first time since Trent had pointed across the bar, she felt something other than pressure. Not victory, not peace, but company. Denise tore the first page from the legal pad and slid it toward Maya. We'll post this in the morning. Maya picked up the pen. Outside, Belridge kept talking into the dark. Inside, under the lights that almost went out, 3 people sat around a cheap table and began putting the truth into words. By Saturday morning, Hope Renewal Center had become the place people in Belridge were talking about, even if they did not all say its name kindly. Maya arrived just after 7 with a cup of black coffee from the gas station and the same clothes from the night before. She had gone home, showered, and lain down for a few hours, but sleep had never fully come. Every time she closed her eyes, she heard Trent's voice, then Rusty's, then Mrs. Evelyn's quiet warning that the second fight was always about what people said happened. Denise Harper was already inside the office, sitting behind the old desk with her laptop open. The lights above her buzzed softly, still on because the bill had been paid. That simple fact kept pulling Maya's eyes upward. Denise looked up. You look like you lost a fight with a pillow. I don't think the pillow lost either. That bad? I've had worse nights. Denise studied her for a moment but did not push. Coffee's fresh. Maya held up her cup. Got some. That gas station coffee is not coffee. It's punishment in a paper cup. Maya almost smiled and walked into the front room. The chairs were still in a loose circle from Friday evening's meeting. A stack of job applications sat on the table. The bulletin board was crowded with flyers for forklift certification, resume help, veterans benefits, rent assistance, and a second chance hiring fair in Macon. Everything looked ordinary. That was what made it feel sacred. Denise came out of the office with her phone in hand. The statement is ready. Maya nodded. Read it again. Denise cleared her throat. Hope Renewal Center will open as scheduled. Our overdue power balance has been paid in full. We do not support public humiliation, intimidation, or wagering on people in financial distress. Last night, one of our staff members accepted a public challenge under clearly stated rules, followed those rules, caused no harm, and left once the agreed amount was paid. We invite anyone with concerns about our work to attend our Sunday open house and see what this center actually does for the community. Maya listened carefully. Keep. Caused no harm. I plan to. And don't take out financial distress. Denise looked over her glasses. I wasn't going to. People need to hear that part. They will. Denise posted it at 7:18. For several minutes, the room stayed quiet. Maya stood near the front window and watched a pickup roll slowly past. Then another. Belridge had the habit of driving by a thing before deciding whether to have an opinion about it. The comments started before 7:30. Denise read the first few without emotion. Nancy Wilkes says she watched the full video and Trent should be ashamed. Gary from O'Reilly says those Friday challenges have been going on too long. Somebody named Dale says if people don't want to be embarrassed, they shouldn't step on mats in bars. Maya took a sip of bad coffee. Dale ever donate to the center? No. Then Dale can keep typing. Denise scrolled. There are more shares than comments now. That matters. The front door opened, and Marcus Hill stepped inside wearing his interview shirt, a clean pair of dark slacks, and the stiff posture of a man trying not to show nerves. He carried a blue folder under one arm. Denise looked at the clock. Marcus, your interview is at 8:30. I know. I came to make sure the lights were on. They are. He looked up at them and breathed out slowly. Good. Maya noticed his fingers pressing too hard against the folder. You ready? No. Good. Ready. People get careless. He gave a small laugh. That supposed to help? No. It's supposed to be true. Marcus looked toward the office. You think Mr. Jenkins saw the video? Probably. His face tightened. Maya stepped closer. Then he saw you stand up, speak clearly, and not let anybody pull you out of yourself. Marcus looked down at his shoes. That counts, Maya said. Denise added, and if he asks about it, you tell the truth in one sentence and bring the conversation back to work. You are not there to defend your whole life. You are there to apply for a job. Marcus nodded. One sentence. Try it, Maya said. He took a breath. I was present during an incident at Iron Horse, and I chose not to escalate it. Denise pointed at him. That's the sentence. The door opened again before anyone could say more. Mrs. Evelyn Carter walked in carrying a covered dish, a canvas tote bag, and the kind of authority that made people straighten up without knowing why. I brought breakfast casserole, she said. Sausage, eggs, cheese, and enough butter to make a cardiologist pray. Denise took the dish from her. Mrs. Carter, you didn't have to. I know what I have to do. This is what I chose to do. Mrs. Evelyn turned to Marcus. Why are you still here? He held up his folder. Leaving now. Good. Get there early. Look people in the eye. And don't apologize for needing work. Everybody in this country needs work. Some just get to pretend they don't. Yes, ma'am. Marcus left with a little more strength in his shoulders. As his truck pulled away, Denise's phone rang. She looked at the screen and sighed. Councilman Pike. Maya set her coffee down. Mrs. Evelyn took a seat. Speaker. Denise answered and placed the phone on the table. Good morning, Councilman. Pike's voice came through smooth and measured. Denise, I wanted to discuss the statement your center posted this morning. Of course. I'm concerned it may create unnecessary division. Maya stood beside the table, hands relaxed. Denise said, the division existed before the statement. We described it. I hope you understand that Hope Renewal receives community goodwill because it focuses on rehabilitation, not public controversy. Maya leaned slightly toward the phone. A public challenge happened in a public tavern. The rules were public. The money was public. The comments about this center were public. There was a pause. Miss Williams, I did not realize you were on the call. I'm in the room. Yes. Well, my concern is stability. Mrs. Evelyn spoke before Denise could. Robert Pike. This is Evelyn Carter. I taught your youngest daughter to stop using words she could not define. I hope you are not about to make me do the same with you. The silence lasted long enough to fill the room. Pike cleared his throat. Good morning, Mrs. Carter. Good morning. Now define stability. I mean, the community needs calm. Calm? For whom? Another pause. Denise looked at Maya, then at Mrs. Evelyn, and for the first time that morning, a small smile touched her face. Pike said, "Perhaps we should discuss this in person. Sunday open house," Denise said. 10 to 2. You are welcome to attend. I'll check my schedule. Mrs. Evelyn said, "We'll save you a chair." The call ended with polite words and no warmth. Denise picked up the phone. "He'll come." Maya looked doubtful. "You think so?" Mrs. Evelyn uncovered the casserole. Men like Robert Pike do not like being invited in front of witnesses and then failing to appear. By mid-morning, Rusty posted from the Iron Horse Tavern page. His statement was short. He wrote that Maya Williams followed the rules, that the challenge should not have happened, and that the Friday night mat was closed for good. He asked people to watch the full video before repeating anything else inside his tavern. Denise read it twice. Maya listened, then said, "That's a beginning." Mrs. Evelyn handed her a plate of casserole. "Eat before you start measuring beginnings." Then Darren Vale posted his own version. He called the event a friendly challenge taken out of context. He wrote that Trent had acted with restraint and that outside voices were trying to damage a local business. Within minutes, people posted full videos under his statement. One showed Trent holding up the money. One showed him mocking Hope Renewal. One showed Maya asking Rusty to repeat the rules. One showed Rusty saying she had broken none. Darren deleted the post before noon. Denise looked at the blank screen where it had been. Truth has a way of making cowards tidy up. Maya did not answer. She was looking through the front window as cars slowed outside the center. Some drivers stared. Some looked away. One older woman in a white Buick lifted her hand in a small wave. Maya raised her hand back. At 12:14, Marcus called. Maya answered. "You driving?" "No, ma'am." "Parked outside the diner." "How did it go?" His breath shook once. "Mr. Jenkins gave me a trial week. I start Monday." Denise closed her eyes. Mrs. Evelyn put a hand over her heart. Maya's voice stayed steady, but only because she made it. "That's good, Marcus." He said he saw the video. Said a man who can stand in a room like that and not lose himself might be steady enough for his shop. Maya looked up at the buzzing lights. They were still on. "Come by tomorrow," she said. "We'll need help setting chairs. I'll be there early." After the call ended, the room stayed quiet. Denise finally said, "That is why the lights matter." Maya stood in the center of the old room, surrounded by cheap chairs, a cooling casserole, a phone full of arguments, and people who had decided not to let the truth be edited into silence. Outside, Belridge kept talking. Inside, Hope Renewal kept its lights on. By early afternoon, the story had reached Larson Combat Fitness. Trent stood in the middle of his own gym with the lights on full and the music off. Usually, the place felt clean and controlled. Heavy bags hung in a neat line. Framed photos of tournament wins covered the wall near the front desk. His logo, black and red, stretched across a banner above the mats. Discipline. Strength. No excuses. That slogan looked different to him now. His phone had not stopped buzzing since morning. Some messages came from friends telling him to stay strong. Some came from students asking if class was still on. A few came from parents who said they wanted to pause their memberships until things became clear. Clear. That word made Trent grip the phone harder. Darren Vale paced near the front desk with a tablet in one hand and a coffee he had not touched in the other. He had changed clothes since the night before, but he still looked like a man trying to clean up a spill with a business plan. "You should have let me handle the first post," Darren said. Trent turned on him. "I did let you handle it. You deleted it, because every full clip in Belridge got posted under it within 6 minutes. Then post another one. With what? A cleaner angle? There is no cleaner angle, Trent. That's the problem." Trent looked toward the wall of mirrors. His reflection looked almost like the man on the posters, but not quite. Same shoulders, same jaw, same gym shirt, different eyes. "She stalled," he said. Darren sighed. "She lasted. That was the rule. You work for me or for her. I work for the sponsor, and the sponsor does not like looking cruel." Trent laughed without humor. Cruel? It was a challenge. It looked like a setup. It always looks like a setup when the wrong person wins. Darren stopped pacing. That sentence hung in the gym. Trent heard it after he said it. He looked away first. Darren lowered his voice. Don't say that outside this room. Trent shoved his phone onto the front desk. I am not losing my gym over one woman who knew how to move. You might lose it over why you picked her. I didn't pick her. She stepped up. You pointed at her first. Trent's mouth tightened. The front door opened, and Deputy Carl Henson walked in wearing jeans, a gray polo, and the tired look of a man who wanted no part of a thing he had helped create. He took off his sunglasses and looked around the empty gym. You closed classes? He asked. Darren answered before Trent could. For the day. We're managing communications. Henson looked at Trent. You need to stop talking online. I haven't posted. You've been liking comments. Trent stared at him. Henson held up his phone. People screenshot everything. Darren pointed at Trent as if that proved his whole morning. Henson stepped closer. Internal Affairs called my captain. Trent blinked. For what? For being there. For not stopping it. For what people say they heard me say. You didn't do anything. That may be the issue. The words landed harder than Trent expected. For the first time, Henson did not sound like an ally. He sounded like a man looking for distance. Trent folded his arms. So now, everybody's saving themselves. Henson looked at him. You should try it. Before Trent could answer, his phone rang on the desk. Darren picked it up, looked at the screen, and held it out. Councilman Pike, he said. Trent took it. Councilman. Pike's voice came through sharp and low. Do not use my name in any statement. I wasn't planning to. You also weren't planning to become the top story in every church parking lot by lunchtime. Trent looked toward Henson, who looked away. Pike continued. Hope Renewal is hosting an open house tomorrow. They are using this to build sympathy. They're using my money. You offered it in front of 30 people and 12 phones. Stop saying things that make you sound foolish. Trent's face darkened. What do you want? I want this cooled down. No more posts. No more interviews. No more friendly challenges. And if asked, you say the matter was a misunderstanding, and you support community healing. Trent almost laughed. Community healing? Yes. Say it like you mean it. The call ended. Trent threw the phone onto the desk. It slid into a stack of membership forms. Darren rubbed his forehead. He's going to protect himself. Everybody is. Yes, Darren said. Because the brand is cracking. Trent looked around the gym again. For years, he had told people this place made them stronger. He had sold discipline by showing other men losing control. He had sold confidence by humiliating people who needed money. It had worked because no one wanted to look too closely at the price. Now, one quiet woman had stood in front of him for 3 minutes, and people were finally looking. At Hope Renewal Center, Maya was not looking at Trent's page. Denise had taken her phone away for an hour and placed it in the office drawer. Maya objected once, then stopped. There were chairs to clean, flyers to straighten, coffee supplies to count, and a Sunday open house that had suddenly become more important than anyone expected. Mrs. Evelyn stood at the bulletin board, removing curled papers and replacing them with fresh copies. She had brought tape from home, because she said no respectable community event should depend on tape that gave up at the corners. Maya carried a stack of folding chairs from the storage room. Don't overdo it, Denise called. I'm carrying chairs, not a piano. You carry worry like furniture too. Set some of that down. Maya ignored that because it was too accurate. The door opened, and a woman in her late 60s stepped in holding a white envelope. Maya recognized her as Nancy Wilkes, who worked part-time at the library and had commented under the center's statement that morning. Nancy looked uncomfortable, as if kindness had brought her to the door but pride had not agreed to come inside. Is Denise Harper here? She asked. Denise came out of the office. I'm Denise. Nancy held out the envelope. It isn't much. My husband and I watched the video, the full one. We didn't know those challenges were like that. Mrs. Evelyn looked over her glasses. A lot of folks don't know what they choose not to see. Nancy accepted the correction. You're right. Denise took the envelope with both hands. Thank you. Nancy looked at Maya then. Miss Williams, I'm sorry that happened. Maya nodded. Thank you. Nancy hesitated. My husband, said Trent, used to seem harmless. Loud, but harmless. Maya kept her voice even. People usually call something harmless when it harms somebody else. Nancy looked down, then nodded. Yes, I suppose they do. After she left, Denise opened the envelope. It held $40 and a handwritten note offering to help with the open house sign-in table. Mrs. Evelyn smiled faintly. There goes Belridge. One guilty envelope at a time. Maya placed another chair in the row. Guilt doesn't last. No, Mrs. Evelyn said. But sometimes it carries people to the first right action. After that, they have to learn commitment. By late afternoon, more small offerings arrived. A box of printer paper, 2 cans of coffee, a grocery store gift card. A retired mechanic named Mr. Albright came in and asked if the center still had that broken back step. Denise said yes. He said he would bring tools Sunday after church. None of it fixed everything, but each gesture pushed against the idea that Hope Renewal was alone. Maya watched from the hallway as people came and went. Some spoke easily. Some avoided her eyes. Some apologized too much. Some only dropped something off and left. She accepted each one without making it simple for them. A town could not heal by pretending a wound had been a misunderstanding. Near 5, Marcus returned in his pickup and carried in 12 borrowed chairs from Jenkins Auto. He was still wearing his interview shirt. Denise smiled. You came back. Marcus shrugged. You said you'd need chairs. Maya looked at him. You got the job and still showed up to carry furniture? Trial week ain't a job yet. Mrs. Evelyn pointed at him. That is exactly why it may become one. Marcus grinned. For the first time all day, the center sounded almost normal. Chairs scraped, coffee brewed. Mrs. Evelyn gave instructions nobody had requested. Denise argued with the copy machine. Marcus fixed the jam by opening the side panel and saying, "It just needed respect." Maya stood in the middle of it and felt the weight in her chest shift. Then her phone rang from the office drawer. Denise looked at the screen. Her face changed. What is it? Maya asked. Denise handed her the phone. The caller ID read, Atlanta Metro Tactical Training Division. Maya stared at it. The past had found the number after all. Maya did not answer right away. The phone kept ringing in her hand while the room around her grew quiet. Denise stopped beside the copy machine. Marcus lowered the stack of chairs he was carrying. Mrs. Evelyn turned from the bulletin board and looked at Maya with the calm concern of someone who understood that some calls came from a place deeper than the screen. Maya finally pressed answer. This is Maya Williams. A man's voice came through. Older, measured, familiar enough to make her shoulders tighten. Maya. It's Captain Ellis. She looked toward the front windows. Late afternoon light lay across the floor in long, pale strips. Captain. I saw the video. Of course he had. The whole town had seen it. Half of Georgia might have seen it by now. Maya said. I didn't know it had reached Atlanta. Everything reaches Atlanta eventually. She waited. Captain Ellis exhaled softly. You looked steady. That why you called? No. The answer was too honest to be comfortable. Maya stepped into the hallway for privacy, but she did not close the office door. She did not want to make this call feel more secret than it had to be. Ellis continued. I received 2 calls this afternoon. One from a local official in Belridge, one from someone connected to Larson's gym. They asked whether you had been trained by us. Maya's grip tightened around the phone. And I confirmed you previously instructed defensive control and de-escalation. You gave them that? It's not classified, Maya. And I did not give them more. She leaned against the hallway wall. What did they want? They wanted a different word. What word? Liability. There it was. She had expected a lie, but that one was polished. It sounded official. It sounded like paperwork. It sounded like someone preparing to turn her discipline into a threat. Ellis said, They may try to argue you brought professional training into a public confrontation. I followed the rules. I saw. I didn't harm him. I saw that too. Then why does it feel like I'm the one being investigated? There was a pause. When Ellis spoke again, his voice had less rank in it. Because some people are more comfortable with you being dangerous than right. Maya closed her eyes for a second. From the front room, she heard Mrs. Evelyn tell Marcus not to stack the chairs against the emergency exit. Life kept moving, even when old ghosts called on the phone. Ellis said, "I'm not calling to scare you. I'm calling so you're not surprised. If anyone asks, you state the same facts every time. You were publicly challenged. The rules were stated. You stayed within them. You used control, not force. You left after payment." Maya opened her eyes. "You sound like Denise." "Then Denise is smart." "She is." "And Maya?" "Yes? Don't let them make you apologize for being trained. The training is why no one was hurt." That sentence sat with her. For years, she had treated that part of her life like a room she had locked behind her. But last night, the thing she feared had not made her cruel. It had kept her careful. "Thank you," she said. Ellis's voice softened. "You always were the best at teaching men what control should look like. Seems some of them are still slow learners." Maya almost smiled. "Goodbye, Captain. Take care of yourself." The call ended. Maya stood in the hallway with the phone lowered at her side. The past had not dragged her back. Not yet. But it had reminded her that the people coming for the truth would not always come with loud voices. Some would come with official language, policy concerns, and questions designed to make self-control sound suspicious. When she returned to the front room, Denise read her face immediately. What did they say? Maya set the phone on the desk. Pike or someone close to Trent called Atlanta. "They're trying to make my training the problem." Marcus frowned. "But that's why nobody got hurt." Mrs. Evelyn pointed at him. "See? That is a clear sentence. Hold on to it." Denise walked to the legal pad on the table. "We need to update tomorrow's talking points." Maya shook her head. "No speeches. Not speeches. Facts. Facts keep people from dressing lies in Sunday clothes." Mrs. Evelyn nodded. "And tomorrow is Sunday. They will arrive well-dressed." The center's open house had already mattered. Now it mattered more. By 6 o'clock, they had a plan. Not a scheme. Not a counterattack. A plan. Denise would open with the center's purpose. Job readiness. Recovery support. Basic computer access. Referral services. And accountability for adults rebuilding their lives. Mrs. Evelyn would speak about the history of the building and the people it had served. Marcus would speak only if he chose to. Maya would explain one thing. Self-defense was not about hurting people. It was about getting home with your dignity and letting others do the same. They wrote the order on the whiteboard in the meeting room. At the top, Denise wrote, "Tell the truth, plainly." Mrs. Evelyn studied it. "Add," and repeatedly. "Folks often need seconds." Denise added, "Tell the truth, plainly, and repeatedly." Maya looked at the board. "I don't want tomorrow to become about me." "It already is about you," Denise said. "The question is whether it stays only about you or becomes about why they needed you to be silent." Marcus stood near the back, hands in his pockets. "I can speak." Maya turned. "You don't have to." "I know. That room may be full. I know. Pike may be there." Marcus nodded. "Then he can hear me use my own name." No one spoke for a moment. Mrs. Evelyn smiled at him. "Mr. Hill, that may be the finest sentence I have heard all day." Marcus looked embarrassed but did not take it back. At Larson Combat Fitness, Trent was not planning truth. He was planning damage control. Darren had opened 3 tabs on his laptop. One for local media contacts, one for sponsor statements, and one for Hope Renewal's page. Trent stood behind him, arms crossed, watching comments appear faster than Darren could read them. "They're turning this into a civil rights sermon," Trent said. Darren did not look up. "You helped. I made one comment. You made several. They're twisting it. They're replaying it." That shut Trent up for a few seconds. Deputy Henson sat near the front desk, no longer comfortable enough to lean back. "Do not drag me into any statement." Trent looked at him. "You were there, and I'll be questioned about that." "You're scared." Henson's face hardened. "I'm employed." Darren clicked on a new comment and swore under his breath. "What?" Trent asked. "Rusty just posted again." He read aloud. "For anyone asking, Miss Williams asked me to repeat the rules before the round. I did. She followed them. I should have stopped these challenges months ago. That's on me. Trent slammed his hand on the desk hard enough to make the tablet jump. No one spoke for a second. Darren said, "That doesn't help us." "No kidding. It helps her." Trent stared at the screen. "Then we need something else." Henson stood. "No. You need to stop." Trent turned on him. "You don't tell me what to do. Right now, everybody is telling you what to do. You're just only mad when it's me." Henson grabbed his keys and walked toward the door. Trent called after him. "Where are you going?" "To call my representative before Internal Affairs calls me again." The door closed behind him. Darren lowered his voice. "He's cutting distance. So is Pike. So are you. I'm trying to save what can be saved." "My gym?" Darren looked at him. "My contract." There was the truth. Plain and ugly. Trent laughed once. "At least you said it." Darren shut the laptop halfway. "Tomorrow, Hope Renewal has an open house. Pike may go. Local people may show up. If you go, you apologize and leave." "I'm not going there." "Good." But the look on Trent's face said the word had not settled. Back at the center, Maya locked the front door after the last volunteer left. The room was cleaner now. The chairs were arranged. A donation box sat near the entrance. A pot of decaf and regular coffee would be ready in the morning. On the table lay a stack of sign-in sheets and a handwritten note from Nancy Wilkes. "I can help at the front if you still need someone." Maya picked it up and read it twice. Denise came beside her. "People can surprise you. Sometimes that's good. Sometimes." Mrs. Evelyn put on her cardigan and picked up her tote bag. "Tomorrow will be uncomfortable." Maya nodded. "I know. Good. Do not confuse uncomfortable with unsafe. Some truths enter a room like bad weather. Let them." Marcus held the door for Mrs. Evelyn. "I'll be here by 9. Denise pointed at him. "Not before 8:30. Sleep matters." "Yes, ma'am." After they left, Maya stood alone in the front room for a minute. The lights hummed overhead. The old building still had cracks, bills, bad plumbing, and not enough chairs. But it also had names on a sign-in sheet, coffee for the morning, and people willing to show up. Her phone buzzed again. This time it was an unknown number. The message read, "You should have stayed quiet." Maya looked at the words for a long moment. Then she took a screenshot, sent it to Denise, and placed the phone face down on the table. She turned off the hallway light, checked the back door, and stood beneath the front room lights a moment longer. Quiet had never protected her the way people thought it did. Tomorrow, she would let them hear that. Sunday morning came with church bells, warm air, and the kind of quiet that never lasted long in Belridge. Maya arrived at Hope Renewal Center at 8:30 and found Marcus already standing beside the front steps, with 2 trays of coffee balanced in his hands. Denise opened the door behind her and frowned. "Marcus Hill, what time did I say?" "Not before 8:30. Denise looked at her watch. Marcus gave a small smile. "It is 8:30. Mrs. Evelyn, who had arrived even earlier and was pretending not to enjoy the argument, called from inside. "Let the man carry coffee before it turns cold." Marcus stepped in and placed the trays on the front table. "Jenkins Auto sent them. Mr. Jenkins said he figured folks might need something decent." Maya looked at the cups, then at Marcus. "That was kind of him." Marcus nodded. "He said I should tell you he watched the full video twice." Denise lifted an eyebrow. "Did he say why? Twice? First time to see what happened. Second time to see what people tried not to see." Mrs. Evelyn paused with a stack of napkins in her hand. "I may have to respect that man." The center looked different that morning. Not fixed, not polished, but ready. The floors had been mopped. The chairs were arranged in rows facing the small whiteboard. A folding table near the door held sign-in sheets, name tags, pamphlets, and a donation box made from a shoebox wrapped in blue paper. On the bulletin board, Denise had posted fresh copies of job resources, legal aid hours, recovery meetings, and the center's weekly schedule. Maya stood in the middle of the room and took it in. "This is good," she said. Denise glanced around. "It is temporary good, but temporary good still counts." At 9:30, Nancy Wilkes arrived in a pressed blouse and low heels, carrying a clipboard like she had been waiting all her life for a sign-in table to need discipline. I can handle names, she said, but I do not do crowd control. Mrs. Evelyn handed her a pen. That is all right. We have Maya for that. Maya gave her a look. Mrs. Evelyn smiled. I said what I said. People began arriving just before 10. First came a few regulars from the center, adults who had used the place long before the town decided to notice it. Then came neighbors who had never stepped inside, older women from church, a retired postal worker, a couple who owned the laundromat, 2 men from the hardware store, a veteran who left a folded 20 in the donation box and walked out before anyone could thank him. Some people greeted Maya directly. Some nodded without meeting her eyes. Some looked around as if surprised the center was not what they had imagined. Denise stood near the front, welcoming everyone with a practiced calm. Mrs. Evelyn poured coffee and corrected anyone who tried to call the center that little program. Marcus moved chairs when needed and greeted people by name. At 10:18, Councilman Robert Pike walked in. The room noticed. He wore a navy blazer, pressed khakis, and the careful expression of a man who had decided to appear generous without surrendering anything. Nancy handed him a name tag. He looked at it as if it were a legal document. Name, please, she said. He blinked. Robert Pike. I know. The form still wants it. A few people nearby heard and looked away to hide smiles. Pike wrote his name and stepped inside. His eyes moved over the room, over the donation box, over the job flyers, over Maya. He gave her a polite nod. Miss Williams, Councilman. No warmth, no insult, just the truth of their positions. At 10:30, Denise began. Thank you for coming, she said. Hope Renewal Center has been in this building for 9 years. We provide adult job readiness, computer access, recovery referrals, court compliance documentation, interview coaching, and a place where people can keep trying when other doors have closed. She did not mention Trent at first. She did not mention Iron Horse. She made the room look at the center before it looked at the conflict. Then she said, Many of you are here because of a video from Friday night. I will speak plainly. That event should never have been necessary. No community resource should depend on humiliation, gambling, or public pressure to pay a power bill. People shifted in their chairs. Denise continued, but because it happened, we will not allow the truth to be cut into pieces. Miss Williams followed the rules that were spoken aloud. She caused no harm. She left with the amount agreed upon. The bill was paid. The center is open. Maya stood near the side wall with her hands folded in front of her. She felt every phone in the room even when no one raised one. She saw Pike listening with his chin slightly lifted. She saw Rusty slip in late and stand near the back, cap in both hands. He did not look comfortable. That was good. Comfort had protected the wrong things for too long. Mrs. Evelyn spoke next. She did not stand behind the table. She stood in front of it. I taught school in this county for 34 years, she said. I taught children who became mechanics, nurses, clerks, deputies, parents, and some who lost their way for a while. I learned something. A person is not the worst day they ever had, unless the rest of us are too lazy to remember their name. The room went very still. She looked toward Marcus, not to expose him, but to include him. This center remembers names. That is why it matters. Marcus looked down, then back up. Pike checked his phone. Mrs. Evelyn stopped speaking and waited. After 3 seconds, he felt the silence and looked up. She smiled politely. I can wait, Robert. The room breathed out in small, nervous amusement. Pike put the phone away. Maya nearly smiled, then stopped when the front door opened again. Trent Larson walked in. The room changed faster than sound. Conversation stopped. Chairs creaked. Marcus straightened. Rusty's face tightened at the back. Denise stepped away from the table. Mrs. Evelyn did not move, but her eyes sharpened. Trent was not dressed for the gym. He wore jeans and a clean white shirt under a dark jacket. His face had been arranged into humility, but it did not sit naturally there. Darren Vale was not with him. Deputy Henson was not with him. For the first time since Maya had seen him, Trent looked alone. Denise spoke first. Mr. Larson, this is an open house for the center. If you are here respectfully, you may stay. Trent looked around the room. Too many eyes. Too many phones resting in laps. Too many people who had watched the full clip. "I'm here to say something," he said. Maya did not move. Trent looked at her. "I want to apologize for how things got out of hand." Mrs. Evelyn's expression did not change. Maya said, "Things did not get out of hand. People made choices." A quiet murmur moved through the room. Trent swallowed. "I made comments I shouldn't have made." "About the center," Denise said. "Yes. About the people who come here," Marcus said. Trent looked at him, and for a moment the old reflex crossed his face. Then he noticed the room watching and forced it down. "Yes," Trent said. "About the people who come here." Pike stood slightly. "This is a positive step. I think we can all agree healing begins with—" Mrs. Evelyn raised one hand. "Robert, let him finish badly or well on his own." Pike sat back down. Trent's jaw tightened, but he continued. "I shouldn't have challenged Maya like that." Maya said, "Why did you?" The question was quiet. It did not let him hide inside the apology. Trent looked at her. "I thought it would be good content." There it was. Not complete truth, but a piece large enough to matter. Maya nodded. "Because you thought I would lose." "Yes. Because you thought people would laugh." He hesitated. "Yes. Because you thought a woman like me, from a place like this, would be safe to embarrass." Trent looked at the floor. No one rescued him. "Yes," he said finally. The room held that word. It did not heal everything. It did not undo Friday night. It did not return dignity to every person ever mocked on those mats. But it named the thing that had been hiding under jokes, under bets, under friendly challenges and edited videos. Maya looked at him for a long moment. "Then start there," she said. "Not with how it looked, with what it was." Trent nodded once, stiffly. Rusty stepped forward from the back. His voice was rough. "And I let it happen in my place." People turned toward him. He kept his cap in his hands. "I called it entertainment, because that made it easier to count the money. Miss Williams is right. Being sorry in private is easy. So I'm saying it here. I was wrong." The donation box sat between him and the room. Bright blue paper around an old shoebox. Rusty walked to it and placed an envelope inside. "I'm closing the mat for good," he said. "And the Iron Horse will cover next month's utility bill for the center." Denise looked surprised. Maya did too. Mrs. Evelyn said softly, "Now that is a sentence with shoes on it." A few people laughed, but gently this time. Councilman Pike stood again. He knew the room had shifted without him, and men like Pike did not enjoy arriving late to a moral position. "The town council will review available support options for Hope Renewal," he said. Denise turned to him. "When?" Pike paused. "At the next meeting. Put it on the agenda," Maya said. He looked at her. "Publicly," she added. Pike nodded, slower than he wanted. "Publicly." Nancy Wilkes wrote something on her clipboard, though no one had asked her to. "I'll be there," she said. "So will I," Marcus added. One by one, others in the room said the same. Maya felt the shape of the morning change. It was no longer about Friday night alone. It had become harder than that, and better than that. A town that had watched people be shamed for money was now being asked to show up when there was no entertainment. No bet. No easy laugh. Denise looked at Maya. "Would you like to speak?" Maya almost said no. Then she looked at the chairs filled with people who had come to see whether the truth could stand in daylight. She looked at Marcus, at Mrs. Evelyn, at Rusty, at Pike, at Trent. By the door, she looked at the old lights overhead. She stepped forward. "I don't want this place remembered because of a video," she said. "I want it remembered because people walked in here carrying the worst thing that ever happened to them and found out it was not the only thing true about them." No one moved. Maya continued. "Strength is not making someone smaller because you can. Strength is having the power to do harm and choosing control instead. It is telling the truth, when silence would be easier. It is standing beside people, before the cameras come out." Her voice stayed steady. "What happened Friday night was not justice. It was a warning. Justice is what we do after we can no longer pretend we did not see." The room was quiet. Then Mrs. Evelyn began to clap. Once, then again. Marcus joined. Denise joined. Slowly, Others followed, not loud enough to turn the moment into a show, but enough to let it stand. Maya did not smile. Not fully, but for the first time, the quiet around her did not feel like people waiting for her to fall. It felt like people learning how to listen. When the applause ended, no one seemed eager to be the first person to move. The room stayed still around Maya's words. Coffee cooled in paper cups. A few people looked down at their hands. Others looked toward the bulletin board as if seeing the job listings and recovery schedules for the first time. Trent remained near the door with his shoulders stiff, no longer the center of anything. Councilman Pike stood beside a row of folding chairs, his public smile gone thin. Denise stepped forward because she knew a moment could be wasted if no one gave it somewhere to go. "Thank you, Miss Williams," she said. "Now, for anyone who came to learn what Hope Renewal actually does, we have sign-up sheets by the door. Mrs. Carter can answer questions about volunteer tutoring. Marcus can show you the computer room. I'll be available for program information and donations. Councilman Pike, since you are here, I hope you will stay long enough to hear from the people affected by the funding cuts." Pike adjusted his jacket. "I intend to listen." Mrs. Evelyn lifted an eyebrow. "That is a start. We will work toward hearing." A few people smiled, but the room did not become light. Not yet. Too much truth had been named. Truth could clear the air, but it could also show how much dust had been floating there all along. Maya moved toward the side table and poured herself water. Her hands were steady, but she could feel the tiredness under her ribs. She had been standing in one kind of fight or another since Friday evening. Trent approached slowly. Marcus noticed first and stepped halfway between them. Maya touched his arm. "It's all right," she said. Marcus did not move far, but he gave her room. Trent stopped a few feet away. Up close, his apology looked less polished. His eyes were red at the edges, and his face held the strain of a man who had not slept well and did not know whether regret was the same thing as fear. "I meant what I said," he told her. Maya set the cup down. "Which part?" He looked away, then back. "That I was wrong. That's a beginning. You keep saying that. Because people like endings better. They cost less." Trent's jaw shifted. For a second, pride almost answered for him. Then he swallowed it. "What do you want me to do?" he asked. Maya studied him. "You're asking the wrong person. I'm asking you. You didn't only insult me." His eyes moved toward Marcus, then toward the people standing near the job board. "I know. Then start with them. Not as content. Not as a statement. As work." Trent looked confused. "Work? Your gym teaches discipline, right?" "Yes." "Then offer something useful. Free classes here. For adults. De-escalation. Confidence. How to leave a bad situation without making it worse. No cameras. No brand logo. No speeches." Trent looked as if she had asked him to hand over his name. "No cameras?" "No. How would people know?" Maya's expression did not change. That would be the point. Trent looked toward the room. Darren was not there to advise him. Henson was not there to protect him. Pike was busy shaking hands with people he had ignored for years. For once, Trent had to decide without an audience telling him what choice looked powerful. "I'll think about it," he said. Maya picked up her cup. "That means no." His face tightened. Then he nodded once. "All right, I'll do it." Maya did not thank him. "Talk to Denise," she said. "She runs the center." He glanced toward Denise, who was speaking with Nancy Wilkes at the sign-in table. "She doesn't like me. She doesn't have to like you to hold you accountable." Trent gave a short breath that might have become a laugh on another day. "Nobody in this building makes things easy." Maya looked at him. "Easy got you here." That left him quiet. Across the room, Rusty stood beside the donation box. He had not left after making his announcement. People kept walking up to him, some thanking him, some asking why it had taken so long, some telling him about brothers, sons, husbands, and neighbors who had stepped onto those mats because they needed grocery money or rent money. Rusty listened to each one with his cap in his hands. Mrs. Evelyn watched him from the coffee table. "He is getting a full education," she said. When Maya came near, Maya followed her gaze. "You think he'll keep his word?" "I think shame got him through the door. We will see what keeps him here." Denise joined them with a clipboard pressed to her chest. We have 37 signatures for the council meeting. Good, Mrs. Evelyn said. Make copies. Men misplace paper when it tells them the truth. Denise looked toward Pike. He agreed to put Hope Renewal on the agenda. In writing? Maya asked. Denise held up her clipboard. Nancy got him to sign a note. Maya looked at the sign-in table. Nancy sat there like a courthouse clerk guarding evidence. Mrs. Evelyn smiled. Never underestimate a retired librarian with a pen. Near noon, the open house settled into smaller conversations. People toured the computer room and saw the old desktops that took too long to load. They saw the shelves of donated work shoes, the pamphlets for recovery groups, the list of employers willing to consider applicants with records. They saw the back room, where folding chairs leaned against one wall, and a patch of ceiling still showed water damage from last spring. A woman from the laundromat asked Denise why the town had not funded repairs. Denise answered plainly, because places like this are easy to praise and easy to underfund. The woman wrote that down on the back of a receipt. Maya stood near the hallway and listened. She had wanted the morning to become about the center, and now it had. That should have brought relief. Instead, it brought a new weight. Once people saw the need clearly, they either had to help or admit they were choosing not to. Marcus came from the computer room with Mr. Jenkins beside him. Jenkins was in his 60s, with grease under his nails despite it being Sunday and a hearing aid tucked behind one ear. He nodded to Maya. Miss Williams, Mr. Jenkins. Marcus showed me the resume station. He knows it better than I do. Marcus looked embarrassed. It's just the printer settings. Jenkins glanced at him. Knowing how to fix a printer is half of modern civilization. Mrs. Evelyn, passing by with napkins, said, the other half is knowing when not to speak. Jenkins smiled. Yes, ma'am. He turned back to Maya. I can take 2 people for trial weeks next month. Not promises, trials. That's more than we had yesterday, Denise said, coming close enough to hear. Jenkins nodded. I'll send the details. Marcus stood a little taller, not because his future was safe, but because someone had just made room for others behind him. At 12:40, Councilman Pike asked to speak privately with Maya. No, she said. The answer was so immediate that he blinked. Denise looked over. Maya added, you can speak with me here, or with Denise present. Pike recovered his smile. Of course. Denise, if you don't mind. Denise stepped beside Maya. Pike lowered his voice, though not enough to escape Mrs. Evelyn, who drifted within hearing distance while pretending to arrange cups. I want to be clear, Pike said. My concern was never with the work of the center. Denise said, your votes suggest otherwise. His smile faded. Budgets are complicated. Maya said, so are people. He took that, because the room was watching him even when it pretended not to. I will propose emergency bridge funding at the next meeting, he said. 30 days, while we review longer-term options. Denise did not soften. Put it in writing before you leave. Pike nodded. I can send an email. Before you leave, Maya repeated. Mrs. Evelyn placed 3 paper cups in a perfect row and said, the computer room is open. Pike looked trapped by helpfulness. Fine, he said. Denise walked him to the computer room herself. Maya let out a slow breath. Mrs. Evelyn came to stand beside her. You are learning. What? Never accept a promise that leaves the building before becoming paper. By 1:30, the donation box was heavy. Not enough to solve the center's future, but enough to prove the town could find money when embarrassment opened its wallet. More important, the sign-up sheets were full. Volunteers, employers, people asking for help, people offering it, people who had never before considered that both lists could hold the same names. Then Deputy Henson arrived. He came alone, out of uniform, holding his sunglasses in one hand. The room noticed him, but no one greeted him quickly. That, more than anything, seemed to unsettle him. He approached Denise first. Miss Harper, Deputy, I won't stay long. That is your choice. He looked at Maya. Miss Williams. She nodded once. Henson cleared his throat. I spoke to my captain this morning. I'll be giving a statement about Friday. Full statement. Maya waited. He looked toward Rusty, then Pike in the computer room. Then Trent near the front table, speaking awkwardly with Marcus. "I should have stepped in when the comments started," Henson said. "I didn't. That was wrong." Mrs. Evelyn from behind him said, "That is a complete sentence." Henson turned slightly. "Yes, ma'am." Maya studied him. "Why didn't you?" His answer came slowly. "Because it was easier not to. No one rescued him from that either." Maya nodded. "Then don't make easy your habit." Henson accepted that like a man accepting a fine he knew he had earned. The open house ended at 2, but people did not leave all at once. They lingered, folding chairs, carrying trash, taking pamphlets, signing one more sheet. Trent left quietly after giving Denise his number for the no-camera classes. Rusty stayed to sweep the front steps. Pike printed and signed his funding proposal email before leaving. Henson placed a 20 in the donation box and did not make sure anyone saw him do it. When the last visitor finally walked out, the center looked used in the best possible way. Cups on tables, chairs slightly out of line, crumbs near the casserole dish, names on paper, commitments in ink. Denise sat down hard in a folding chair. "I am too old for civic awakening before lunch." Mrs. Evelyn lowered herself beside her. "Nonsense. You handled it beautifully." Marcus gathered empty cups. "You think it'll last?" No one answered too quickly. Maya looked around the room, at the lights still on, and the people still there after the audience had gone. "It lasts if we make it work after they stop watching," she said. That was the harder truth. Friday night had been 3 minutes. Sunday morning had been 4 hours. What came next would be months of meetings, follow-ups, repairs, schedules, doubts, and people slipping back into old habits, unless someone kept calling them forward. Mrs. Evelyn nodded. "Then we start with chairs." Marcus laughed. "Chairs? Yes. Put them back right. Justice may be large, but it still needs a room people can walk through." Maya picked up a folding chair and carried it to the wall. Marcus grabbed another. Denise rose with a groan and took the sign-in sheets to the office. Missus Evelyn collected napkins and complained about people wasting perfectly good casserole. The work was ordinary. That made it real. Monday morning did not arrive like a victory. It arrived with ringing phones, wet sidewalks after a short dawn rain, and the smell of burned coffee in the Hope Renewal Center office. Denise Harper was at her desk before 8, already sorting the sign-up sheets from Sunday into 3 stacks: volunteers, employers, and people needing services. Mrs. Evelyn Carter sat across from her with a red pen, correcting spelling on names where she could read the handwriting and sighing where she could not. Maya stood by the copy machine, feeding pages one at a time because the machine jammed if anyone trusted it too much. Marcus Hill came in at 8:15, wearing work pants and a clean gray shirt from Jenkins Auto. The name patch on the chest was blank, but the shirt was real. He paused just inside the door, as if he was not sure whether to show it off. Denise looked up first. "Well, look at you." Marcus glanced down at himself. "Trial week." Mrs. Evelyn smiled. "A trial is still a door." Maya nodded toward him. "You ready?" "No." "Good." Marcus laughed. "You keep saying that, because ready people get careless." He held up a lunch bag. Mr. Jenkins said, "I start at 9. I wanted to bring these by first." He set 3 folded papers on Denise's desk. "Applications. 2 other openings." He said the center can send people. Denise picked them up carefully, like they weighed more than paper. "That is useful." He also said he can't promise anybody anything. "Good employers usually don't," Mrs. Evelyn said. "Bad ones promise everything until payday." Marcus checked the clock. "I better go." Maya walked him to the door. Outside, the street was still damp. A pickup passed slowly, and the driver gave Marcus a nod. He seemed surprised by it, then nodded back. Maya noticed. Marcus did too. "Feels strange," he said. "What does?" "Being seen without feeling measured." Maya looked down Dawson Street. "Hold on to that, but don't depend on it." He took that in, then smiled. "Yes, ma'am." When he left, Maya returned to the front room and found Denise staring at her laptop. "What now?" Maya asked. Denise turned the screen. "Council agenda. Pike added emergency bridge funding for Hope Renewal. Mrs. Evelyn leaned closer. In writing? In writing. Miracles do happen when witnesses multiply. Maya read the agenda twice. It did not solve everything. It did not guarantee the vote. It was one line under new business, squeezed between road maintenance and park equipment repairs. But it was there. Hope Renewal Center had become official enough to be debated in daylight. Denise sat back. Meeting is Thursday. Then we prepare, Maya said. We. Yes. We. Mrs. Evelyn tapped the table with her pen. We need speakers. Short statements. No rambling. People over 50 have patience for pot roast, not public meetings. Denise reached for a legal pad. Marcus can speak if he wants. Jenkins, maybe. Nancy. Rusty. Maya hesitated at Rusty's name. Mrs. Evelyn saw it. You do not have to like the man to use his truth. I know. Do you? Maya looked at her. Mrs. Evelyn's voice softened. Justice is not the same as comfort, baby. The line stayed with Maya for the rest of the morning. At 10, Rusty arrived with 2 boxes of cleaning supplies, 4 cans of decent coffee, and an envelope he handed to Denise without ceremony. For next month's bill, he said. Denise opened it, counted enough to confirm, then closed it again. Thank you. Rusty nodded. He looked at Maya. Can we talk? Maya did not answer immediately. Then she led him to the hallway near the storage room, where the walls were thin and privacy was only partial. That suited her. Rusty rubbed his cap between both hands. I've been thinking about every person who stepped on that mat. Maya waited. I told myself they chose it. Nobody forced them. That was how I slept. And now? Now I'm not sleeping. She did not soften. Rusty looked toward the front room. I want to say something at the council meeting. Not to make myself look good. I know I don't. What will you say? That I profited from it. That Trent used my place because I let him. That folks came in needing money, and I let the room turn that need into a joke. Maya listened, and that Hope Renewal shouldn't be begging for $800 while people like me make more than that on a Friday night selling beer to folks laughing at pain. That was the first thing he had said that sounded less like guilt and more like responsibility. Maya nodded once. Say that. Rusty looked relieved, then ashamed of being relieved. All right, and don't make me the point. He frowned. What do you mean? Do not stand up there and talk about how strong I was. Talk about why the room was wrong. Rusty absorbed that slowly. Yes, ma'am. After he left, Maya returned to the front room. Denise was taping a fresh flyer to the bulletin board. It read, Thursday Town Council meeting. Public comment encouraged. Mrs. Evelyn looked at Maya. He ready? No. Good. Ready people get careless. Maya gave her a look. Mrs. Evelyn smiled. I listen when you teach. By noon, the center was busy in a way that felt different from Sunday. Sunday had brought curiosity. Monday brought need. A woman who had watched the video came in asking if the center helped with resume gaps. A retired truck driver offered to teach basic vehicle maintenance once a month. A man in his 50s asked about recovery referrals and kept his ball cap low over his eyes until Denise told him nobody had to explain everything on the first day. The donation box stayed on the table, but Maya noticed more people signing the volunteer list than dropping money in. That mattered more. Money could arrive fast and leave faster. Time meant someone had to come back. In the afternoon, Captain Ellis called again. Maya stepped outside to answer. How are you holding up? He asked. I'm standing. That wasn't my question. It's the answer I have. He accepted that. I wanted you to know. I received another inquiry. This time from someone asking whether your prior training made you a risk to the public. Maya looked across the street at the closed barber shop. And, what did you say? I said training in restraint lowers risk. Lack of restraint raises it. She let out a slow breath. Ellis continued. I also said any further questions should be submitted formally in writing. Thank you, Maya. You may want to prepare for someone to bring this up Thursday. I figured. They'll use polite language. They always do. Then answer with plain language. She looked through the center window. Denise was helping a woman at the computer. Mrs. Evelyn was correcting someone's cover letter. Rusty's coffee sat on the table. The lights were on. I will, Maya said. That evening, after the center closed, Maya stayed behind alone. She arranged chairs for a smaller meeting, wiped the tables, and gathered the leftover flyers. The building made its usual sounds: pipes knocking, lights humming, old floorboards settling. It no longer felt like a place waiting to disappear. On the whiteboard, Mrs. Evelyn had written the week's reminder in neat, blue marker. A person is not the worst day they ever had. Maya stood in front of it for a long time. Then she added underneath, "A community is not its best apology. It is what it changes after." She capped the marker and stepped back. Her phone buzzed. Another unknown number. For a moment, she considered not looking. Then she did. The message read, "Council meeting won't save you." Maya took a screenshot, sent it to Denise, then to Captain Ellis. This time, her hands did not tighten. Fear wanted privacy. That was how it grew. She would not give it that. She locked the front door, checked it twice, and looked up at the glowing sign above the entrance. Hope Renewal Center. The paint was chipped. The wood was old. The porch light flickered once before steadying. Maya stood there until it steadied. Then she went home, knowing Thursday would not be easy, and knowing easy had never been the same thing as right. Thursday evening, the Belridge Town Council chamber filled faster than anyone expected. The room was usually half empty unless property taxes, road repairs, or school zoning were on the agenda. That night, every folding chair was taken by 6:15. People stood along the back wall. Older men in work shirts leaned against the side doors. Women from 2 churches sat together in the second row with notebooks in their laps. Marcus Hill arrived straight from Jenkins Auto, still wearing his gray work shirt with no name patch, and stood near the aisle because he said sitting down would make him more nervous. Maya sat beside Denise Harper and Mrs. Evelyn Carter near the front. She had chosen a navy blouse, dark slacks, and her father's watch. Nothing about her looked like Friday night. That was intentional. She did not want the council to discuss a woman from a video. She wanted them to face a citizen in a chair, under fluorescent lights, with facts in front of her. Rusty Cobb sat 2 rows behind her, cap in his hands. Nancy Wilkes was near the aisle with copies of the petition. Mr. Jenkins sat beside Marcus and kept reading the printed agenda, as if he suspected the words might run away if not watched. Deputy Henson stood at the back, off-duty, quiet, and alone. Councilman Robert Pike sat at the long table on the raised platform with 4 other council members. He avoided looking directly at Maya until the meeting was called to order. The first items passed quickly. Road maintenance, park equipment repairs, a zoning request for a storage shed behind a feed store. People shifted in their seats, waiting for the line everyone had come to hear. Finally, the council chair cleared her throat. Next item. Emergency bridge funding request for Hope Renewal Center. The room settled. Pike leaned toward his microphone. As many of you know, recent public attention has raised questions regarding the center's financial position and its role in our community. Mrs. Evelyn whispered. That is one way to put it. Maya kept her eyes forward. Pike continued. This proposal would provide temporary 30-day bridge support while the council reviews longer-term funding responsibilities and accountability standards. Denise's pen stopped moving. Accountability standards. There it was. The word polite enough to hide a knife. The council chair opened public comment. Denise stood first. She carried 1 page. Maya had watched her cut it down from 4 pages because Mrs. Evelyn said a meeting was not a novel, and nobody should punish democracy with paragraphs. Denise approached the microphone. My name is Denise Harper. I direct Hope Renewal Center. Last month, we served 26 adults through job readiness support, recovery referrals, basic computer access, documentation assistance, and employer preparation. Since Sunday, 6 new volunteers have signed up. 3 employers have contacted us, and 12 residents have requested services. She paused and looked at the council, not the crowd. Our accountability is not theoretical. It is on paper. Attendance logs, referral records, employer contacts, volunteer hours, and outcomes. You may review them, but I ask this council not to use the word accountability as a curtain for discomfort. The center did not create Friday night's humiliation. The center exists Because too many people have nowhere else to go after humiliation. A murmur moved through the room. Denise stepped back. Marcus went next. Maya looked up in surprise. He had not told her he would speak this early. His hands shook when he unfolded his paper, but his voice was clear. My name is Marcus Hill. I am 42 years old. I am employed on a trial basis at Jenkins Auto, starting this week. Hope Renewal helped me prepare my resume, practice interviews, keep appointments, and believe I could walk into a shop as a worker, not a warning. He looked at Pike for 1 second, then back to the paper. On Friday night, when I spoke up, my past was used to make my words smaller. That happens to people like me a lot. This center helps us become more than what people remember. If Belridge believes in second chances, then it should fund the place where second chances are doing paperwork, showing up, and learning how to keep going. He folded the paper and left the microphone before applause could start. But applause came anyway. The council chair tapped once for order, though not very hard. Rusty stood next. The room watched him walk to the microphone. He looked smaller, without the bar around him. My name is Russell Cobb. I own Iron Horse Tavern. He stopped and looked down at his cap. I allowed Friday night challenges in my place. I told myself folks chose to step on that mat. I told myself I wasn't forcing anybody, but I knew the truth. Most folks stepping up needed money, rent money, grocery money, utility money. I let a room turn desperation into entertainment, and I made money while it happened. No one moved. Rusty's voice roughened. Miss Williams did what she said she would do. She followed the rules. She caused no harm. The wrong part of Friday night was not that she stood up. The wrong part was that the rest of us needed her to. He looked toward the council. Hope Renewal should not have to get its lights paid by a woman being challenged in my bar. That is on me. It is also on a town that can find money for banners and festivals, but has to debate whether grown people trying to rebuild their lives are worth electricity. This time the council chair did have to call for order. Pike's face had gone stiff. Then, Deputy Henson stepped forward. Maya turned slightly. She had not known he planned to speak. He gave his name and title, then added, I am speaking as a resident tonight. He gripped the microphone stand with one hand. I was present at Iron Horse Tavern on Friday. I heard comments made about Miss Williams, Hope Renewal Center, and people served by that center. I did not intervene. I should have. My silence gave weight to the wrong side of that room. The chamber was silent now. I have given a statement to my department. I will cooperate with any review. But I want to say publicly that Miss Williams did not escalate what happened. She kept control. If we are going to talk about public safety, we need to understand that restraint is public safety. Maya looked at him. He did not look back right away. When he stepped aside, Mrs. Evelyn leaned toward Maya. That man found a complete paragraph. Maya almost smiled. Several more residents spoke. Nancy Wilkes spoke about watching the full video and realizing she had driven past Hope Renewal for years without once asking what it needed. Mr. Jenkins spoke about trial jobs and how people learned steadiness when someone gave them a place to practice it. A woman from the laundromat asked why Belridge could talk about family values while letting a center that served families beg for scraps. Then, Pike asked to respond. He adjusted his microphone. I appreciate the passion in this room, he said. But passion does not replace responsible governance. Mrs. Evelyn muttered. Here we go, Pike continued. We must ensure that any funding supports stability, not public controversy. I remain concerned that recent events have placed the center in a politically sensitive position. Maya stood. Denise touched her arm, not to stop her, only to steady her. Maya walked to the microphone. My name is Maya Williams. Her voice was calm. The room quieted before she continued. I worked for years teaching control, not aggression, control. I taught people that the first responsibility in a tense room is not to prove strength, it is to prevent harm. On Friday night, I did that. Since then, people have tried to make my training sound like a threat. It was the reason no one was hurt. She looked directly at Pike. You said the center is in a politically sensitive position. That is not true. The center is in a human position. People need work. People need paperwork. People need recovery support. People need a place where one bad chapter does not become their whole book. No one interrupted. Maya continued. What happened at Iron Horse was not justice. It was a warning. Justice is what happens after witnesses go home. Justice is whether a town changes the conditions that made humiliation profitable in the first place. She placed both hands lightly on the podium. So I am asking this council to do something very simple. Do not reward the center because a video embarrassed the town. Fund it because the work is real. Fund it because the records prove it. Fund it because every person here knows $800 should never have stood between a community resource and darkness. She stepped back. There was no applause at first. The room seemed to need a moment to breathe. Then Marcus began clapping. Mrs. Evelyn joined. Rusty joined. Soon, the sound filled the chamber. Not wild, not celebratory, but firm. The council chair waited, then called for order. The vote came 15 minutes later. Pike tried to amend the proposal, asking for more review before releasing money. Another council member, a woman named Teresa Lang, refused. With respect, she said, we have reviewed neglect long enough. The room reacted softly. The motion passed 4-1. 30 days of emergency funding, a scheduled review for longer-term support, a public reporting process, a facilities repair assessment. Not everything, not enough, but real. Denise lowered her head and pressed her fingers to her eyes. Mrs. Evelyn patted her shoulder. Do not cry yet. We still have to make them send the check. Marcus laughed under his breath. Outside after the meeting, the night air felt cooler than it had in days. People gathered on the courthouse steps, talking in small groups. Some shook Maya's hand. Some thanked Denise. Some avoided Pike as he walked quickly to his car. Rusty approached Maya near the railing. You did good, he said, then corrected himself. No, that sounds small. You told the truth, good. Maya looked at him. Keep telling yours. I will. Deputy Henson stopped a few feet away. Miss Williams. Deputy. He nodded once. Thank you for what you said about restraint. I didn't say it for you. I know. That answer mattered more than an apology would have. Mrs. Evelyn came down the steps with Nancy Wilkes beside her. All right, everybody. Go home before people start thinking one meeting fixed America. Denise laughed for the first time that night. Maya looked back at the council chamber doors. Through the glass, she could still see the fluorescent lights, the empty chairs, the long table where people had decided, reluctantly but publicly, that Hope Renewal deserved to stay open. Her phone buzzed. Another message from an unknown number appeared. This time it said, "We saw you tonight. Thank you." Maya read it twice. She did not know who sent it. That was all right. For once, the unknown did not feel like a threat. It felt like someone who had been quiet finally finding a way to speak. Friday morning, Hope Renewal Center opened at 8 o'clock. There was no crowd outside, no cameras, no council members waiting near the curb, just Dawson Street. Waking up slowly, a delivery truck backing behind the diner, a man sweeping cigarette butts from the sidewalk, and the bell over the center's front door giving its usual tired ring when Maya unlocked it. She stood in the doorway for a moment before stepping inside. The lights came on. All of them. That should not have felt like grace. But it did. Denise arrived 10 minutes later with a folder under one arm and 2 biscuits wrapped in foil. Do not tell me you already ate. Maya took one. Good morning to you too. Good morning is included in the biscuit. Mrs. Evelyn came in next, carrying a framed piece of paper wrapped in brown grocery bag. Marcus followed soon after in his Jenkins auto shirt, this time with a name patch sewn on the chest. It said, Marcus. The stitching was crooked, but the way he touched it before sitting down made it seem finer than anything in a department store. Maya noticed. Looks official. Marcus looked down, embarrassed and proud. Mr. Jenkins said if I was going to keep showing up, people should know what to call me. Mrs. Evelyn set her bag on the table. That man continues to improve my opinion of mechanics. Denise opened her folder. Emergency funds will arrive next week. Facilities assessment is scheduled for Tuesday. We have 43 volunteer contacts, 4 employer leads, and 2 people asking about the new de-escalation class. Maya glanced at her. 2? 3 if you count Rusty. But he wrote his name so badly. Nancy thought. It said Dusty. Marcus laughed. Dusty fits him better. The room felt lighter, but not because everything was solved. The ceiling still had stains. The back step still needed repair. The copy machine still complained like an old man getting out of a recliner. Hope Renewal was still underfunded, understaffed, and one vote away from another fight someday. But it was open. That mattered. Mrs. Evelyn unwrapped the frame and leaned it against the wall. Inside was a clean, white sheet, with words written in her careful hand. Strength is not what you can do to someone. Strength is what you refuse to become. Denise read it and grew quiet. Maya looked at the sentence for a long time. That's too nice for our wall, Marcus said. Mrs. Evelyn gave him a look. Then we will raise the wall standards. Rusty Cobb arrived at 9 with a toolbox, coffee, and a new doormat tucked under one arm. He stopped just inside the door and wiped his boots on the old mat before realizing he was carrying its replacement. "Morning," he said. Denise looked up. "Morning, Russell." He nodded toward the back hallway. Mr. Albright said, "The step needs bracing. I brought screws and lumber." Mrs. Evelyn folded her arms. "You know how to fix steps? I know how to hold things while men who know better tell me I'm holding them wrong. That is a useful skill in community work." Rusty accepted the sentence without protest. A few minutes later, Trent Larson walked in. The room did not freeze this time, but it noticed. He wore a plain sweatshirt without the gym logo. No camera, no Darren, no confident grin. He stood near the door as if he understood that entering was not the same as being welcomed. Denise met him halfway. "Mr. Larson." "Miss Harper." He held up a folder. "I wrote out a proposal. 4 weeks. 1 evening a week. No cameras. Basic balance. Distance. How to leave a situation. How not to let somebody bait you into making it worse. If you approve it." Denise took the folder but did not open it yet. "This does not repair what happened. I know. It does not buy trust. I know. And if you turn this into publicity, it ends." Trent nodded. "I understand." Maya watched him from near the whiteboard. Trent looked at her once, then away. He did not ask her to approve him. That was the first wise thing he had done. Denise said, "We'll review it. Thank you." He turned to leave, then stopped beside Marcus. For a second, neither man spoke. Trent said, "I was wrong to talk about you the way I did." Marcus looked at him. "Yes, you were." Trent waited, as if expecting more. Marcus gave him nothing more. After Trent left, Marcus picked up a stack of flyers and carried them to the front table. Mrs. Evelyn watched him with approval. That was restraint. Marcus shrugged. "Maya teaches by example." Maya looked down, but the room had already heard. By 10, the center was busy. A woman in her 50s came in asking for help applying to a cafeteria job. A retired truck driver signed up to teach basic vehicle checks. Nancy Wilkes arrived with a better sign-in sheet. Because the old one, she said, was an insult to organization. Mr. Albright and Rusty worked on the back step, arguing softly about whether the board was level. Denise moved from desk to desk, answering questions, making copies, and reminding everyone that funding was not the same as freedom from paperwork. Maya began the first de-escalation class at 11. There were 6 adults in the room. Marcus stayed, though he said he was only there to help move chairs. Rusty stood near the back. A woman named Carla from the laundromat sat with her arms folded. A veteran named Mr. Baines kept his eyes on the floor. 2 others, both quiet, took seats close to the exit. Maya stood in front of them with no mat under her feet and no audience waiting for someone to lose. "Self-defense is not about proving you are dangerous," she said. "Most of the time, it is about leaving with your future still intact." No one wrote that down, but several people looked up. She showed them how to stand with balance, how to keep hands visible, how to create space without shoving, how to say, "Step back," in a voice that did not beg and did not threaten, how to recognize when pride was trying to make a decision for them. Rusty tried it and looked uncomfortable. "Again," Maya said. He hid. "Step back. Not like you're asking to borrow sugar." "Mrs. Evelyn." watching from the doorway, laughed softly. Rusty tried again. Step back. Better. Marcus stood across from Carla and practiced turning aside instead of pushing back. He moved carefully, respectfully. When he got it right, Carla nodded once and said, "That'll do." Maya saw him smile. Near the end of class, Mr. Baines raised his hand. "What if the other person wants you mad?" Maya paused. "That happens," she said. "What do you do?" She thought of Trent pointing across the bar, Pike at the microphone, Henson's warning, unknown messages on her phone. All the ways people tried to hand you a role and punish you if you refused to play it. "You remember that anger can tell you something is wrong," Maya said. "But it cannot be allowed to drive every car you own." Mr. Baines nodded slowly. Maya added, "Sometimes the strongest thing you can say is, 'Not today.' Then you leave. Sometimes you cannot leave. Then you breathe. You see clearly, and you make sure your next choice belongs to you." The room stayed quiet. When the class ended, nobody clapped. That would have felt wrong. They just stood a little differently than when they had entered. After lunch, Maya found Mrs. Evelyn hanging the framed quote on the wall near the entrance. "It's crooked," Maya said. Mrs. Evelyn stepped back. "So are most people. It can still serve." Maya adjusted the frame until it was straight. Mrs. Evelyn watched her. "You know, your father would be proud." Maya kept her eyes on the frame. He would say, "The screws are cheap." He would. Then he would be proud. Maya smiled, small and private. Denise called from the office. "Maya, you have a minute?" Maya went in and found Denise looking at an email. "The local paper wants an interview," Denise said. "No, I said I would ask." "Then you asked." Denise leaned back. "What if the story helps?" Maya looked through the office window into the front room. Marcus was helping a woman fill out an online application. Rusty carried broken lumber out the back door. Mrs. Evelyn was correcting someone's wording on a cover letter. The room was alive with ordinary effort. "Let them interview you," Maya said. "Interview Marcus if he wants. Interview Mrs. Evelyn. Interview the work. And you?" "I already said my part." Denise nodded. She understood. "All right." Late in the afternoon, when the center began to empty, Maya stepped outside onto the front steps. The new doormat lay flat under her boots. The repaired back step was visible down the side alley, pale wood against old brick. Across the street, the barber shop had turned its sign to open. A woman in a white Buick slowed, waved, and kept going. Maya lifted her hand back. Her phone buzzed. She looked at it. A message from an unknown number appeared. "My brother needs help finding work. Can he come by Monday?" Maya typed back, "Yes. Doors open at 8. No threat. No warning. No demand that she be quiet. Just a question from someone who needed a door." She put the phone away. Inside, Denise turned off the coffee maker. Marcus called goodnight. Rusty argued with Mr. Albright about returning a borrowed drill. Mrs. Evelyn told everyone to stop pretending they did not want the last piece of casserole. Maya stood on the steps a little longer. She thought about Friday night and the $800. She thought about how close the lights had come to going out. She thought about Trent's hand in the air, the room laughing, the old anger rising, and the choice she had made not to become what they expected. Justice had not arrived like a trumpet. It had arrived like a paid bill, a signed agenda, a repaired step, a job shirt with a crooked name patch, a class where grown people practiced saying "step back" without shame. That was enough for today. Tomorrow would ask for more. Maya went back inside and looked once more at the framed words on the wall. Strength is not what you can do to someone. Strength is what you refuse to become. She turned off the front room lights, then paused. The hallway light was still on, warm and steady. For once, she left it that way. The lesson from Maya's story is simple, but not easy. Real strength is not found in humiliating someone weaker, speaking louder than the truth, or winning a crowd for a few minutes. Real strength is control. It is dignity under pressure. It is refusing to become cruel, even when cruelty would be easier. And sometimes, justice does not arrive with applause. Sometimes it arrives as one person standing steady, one witness telling the truth, and one community finally choosing not to look away. Thank you for listening all the way to the end of this story. Your time means a great deal, and I hope Maya's journey left you with something worth carrying. Please share your thoughts about the storytelling style in the comments. Did the pacing feel right? Did the emotions reach you? And if you have a powerful true story, a family memory, or a meaningful experience about courage, injustice, forgiveness, or quiet strength, feel free to send it to the channel. Your story might inspire the next one we tell. This video is a work of fiction created with the assistance of artificial intelligence. All characters, events, and situations are not real and do not represent any actual people or true stories. The content is intended for storytelling and emotional illustration only.